What's good, everybody? Today is November the 15th, 2023. Dear most gracious and Heavenly Father, we thank you, God, for another opportunity of prayer. We thank you, God, for just another chance to come before humbly before your throne of grace. We thank you, God, for allowing us to see this day. We ask you, God, that you would bless this broadcast as well as the viewers and their families as well. We ask you, God, that you would bless our guests on this evening, enlarge her territory, and just increase her. And thank you, be a blessing to her as well. We ask you, God, that always, as always, that you would be with those and comfort and keep those that are going through abroad in the whole Israel and Palestine conflict and other atrocities across this world. We ask you, God, that you would comfort and keep those families that are losing loved ones over nonsense. Just prove yourself who you are, be a comforter and keeper to us. And we thank you in the mighty name of Jesus. We pray. Amen. What's good, everybody? Today is another day. I'm looking around like this because suddenly, all of a sudden, my notes have disappeared. I'm still waiting on the guests to come in on this evening. I was going to do the regular Born Day shout outs as usual. Um, but happy Born Day to Big Fi, former guest, the homie, celebrated the Born Day on yesterday. My man Fool, who celebrated on this day. Big Bro, Michael, George, Georges, happy Born Day, little bro. Hope it was a blessed one for you and everybody else that celebrated over the course of this last week. We had their milestone born days, whatever the case may be. Um, Congratulations to all the anniversaries and special moments. Janelle, if you out there watching, one of the co-workers, somebody I work with during the day, happy birthday, happy anniversary on your 10th year at your location where you are. Congratulations to you and yours for that milestone. Um, and condolences to my the Jiga family, Jennifer, Chuck, and Al. They lost their dad on this previous week. So I want to send condolences to those. Our prayers are going out with you and your family as well in this during this time of need and going through. Know that always you got the number. I'm just a phone call away. You know what I mean? If you want to talk, if you want to pray, if you don't want to talk about anything in particular, I'm here for you. But let's keep them lifted up. Let's keep the Tucker and the Williams family lifted up in our prayers as we go through these different, as they suffer through the loss of their dad. Um, let's see. I'm sorry. I'm getting a notification here. Okay, here we go. All right. Yeah. So let's please keep them in our prayers as well. Um, you know, losing a parent can be a difficult thing, so we definitely want to keep them in our prayers as they're going through this difficult time. And again, as I said in the opening prayer, I definitely want to extend prayers and people that believe in the power of prayer. Let's keep our people, our brothers and sisters, in prayer that are going through in the Gaza Strip with the whole Israel and Palestine conflict and things of that nature there. Family members are being lost, children being lost, women are being lost, soldiers over it's just a bad situation. So let's really, if you believe in that higher power and you believe in God, let's keep those in prayer because losing loved ones and people that we care about is a difficult situation. There's nothing that any of us want to go through with. So let's really be mindful and keep those in our prayers in our spare time. With that being said, we're gonna get ready to get into tonight's show. Um, uh, I was having a conversation with someone earlier today, and they were asking me about uh, just doing my show in general and things of that nature. And they was like, well, you wasn't nervous for your first show. I was like, nah, I just kind of hit the button. It's like I'm not like performing in front of a live. You can't hear me. I can't say something so I can see if I can hear you. I hear you moving, but I can't hear anything on your end. Well, you can't hear me saying that, but I can't hear you either. Just gonna try to come back, go out and come back in to make sure that we can hear each other. Um, but yeah, as I was saying, I was had somebody on earlier, and I was talking to somebody earlier rather, and they were asking me just about the show and things of that nature there, being nervous and things of that nature there. But I'll wait for our guest to come back on so I can formally introduce her. Um, hopefully everybody had a wonderful day. Um, for those that are out there and that might watch this in the future, if you haven't already done so, I would ask that you would please subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's the Marvin Bennett Jr. Show on YouTube, as well as on Facebook. We have the show, a page just for the show. We also have my personal page, but we have a page that's just for the show. You don't care who I am or anything about me. You'd always watch the show from the Facebook page of the for the show, as well as the YouTube channel. You can watch live on the YouTube channel. Ty, if you out there and you watching, let me know if you got the notification or not. We were trying to figure that out earlier as well today, but hopefully you got the notification that we're live now, so you can partake in the show and be a part of it as well. Let me see some in the comments. I haven't got the YouTube feed pulled up, but I'm gonna get to that before the show is over. Hopefully that way is in case any of the YouTube viewers have any comments. Those that are watching on Facebook and YouTube, I think that I do believe that you can put your comments or questions for myself or the guest tonight. Y'all guys seen the topic for tonight on the pre-show announcement. You should be able to put your comments in, and I should be able to get them on this live feed here, even though I can't see them live on YouTube. If you do comment on YouTube, I should be able to see it on the platform that I'm using. So I would encourage you all to do that. But again, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Having said that, I hope everyone has had a wonderful day. Does anyone have any questions to start out? I didn't even get a chance to go back and look at the pre-show announcement to see if anybody had any questions out there. But tonight, what we're going to be talking about is with the holiday seasons coming up. Um, Thanksgiving is next Thursday. Believe it or not, a lot of people are like, oh my God, thought I had more time. Like, no, Thanksgiving is literally next Thursday. So tonight we're going to be talking about, traditionally, so many people, we look at the holidays and we can't wait for the holidays. And, we deal with the who family are we going to chill with? Are we going to go to your family? Are we going to go to my family? Children are involved and things of that nature there. And it is what it is. We become accustomed to making those decisions, whether we're going to travel, whether we're going to go on the road, or are we going to host, all those things when it comes to the holidays in particular. And tonight we're going to kind of delve into how the holidays affect us when we're no longer in relationships, so to speak, or let's say you're divorced or you lost your partner. Things are different. You're not necessarily in a relationship. Like, how are the holidays for you, and how do you handle those holidays? How do you go through what you're going through? Um, as being solo as opposed to using it being a family. Sometimes, we lean on the kids or we still got our kids, but some of us, our children are adults now. And that's the other born day. I don't usually do them ahead of time, but Thursday, my baby boy, my youngest, he will be turning 25 on November 16th, which is Thursday. So I want to give a happy early born day shout out to my son, Elisha Lee Bennett. You know what I'm saying? I'm mad proud of you. You know I love you unconditionally, man. I'm rooting for you. It's just crazy to see you grow into the man that you have become and who you are. So happy born day early. I'm so excited for you. Um, but yeah, we're going. We like I said, sometimes we have situations where our children are adults now, so it's different when they're younger, whatever the case may be. So we can kind of get into a little bit of how we handle uh the holiday season, how they hit a little different when we are single and no longer a family dynamic or part of a relationship, so to speak. And of course, as usual, I want to see you guys in the comments. Feel free to put your comments or any questions out there. You know, everybody might have a different take, but I'm interested in seeing other point of views and how do you deal with it. If it's a big deal for you, if it's not a big deal for you, you know, it's just another holiday. How do you handle that situation though if you're faced with it? Uh, so again, let me check on our guest. She came in earlier, but she was saying that she couldn't hear me. So I'm trying to figure out how to get her back in and make sure that everything is good. I do apologize again for the tardiness as well. Just trying to make sure everything's set up. We got kind of sidetracked and prepping in all the notes that I wrote down and the questions that I had. Can't seem to find them, but it is what it is, and we're gonna make it happen. We're gonna make it do what it do, nonetheless. Um, y'all give me 1 second. Let me know who's out there that's actually tuning in and what platform it is that you're watching on, and just let me know that you guys can see me or you hear me and what's going on. I just want to hear who's chiming in and who's watching on what platform. Let's see. I see the eyeballs. So I see people out there watching. Who's out there watching? Who's out here rocking with me right now while I'm flying solo? And we got some other topics that we're gonna get into tonight too. I'm not sure who's all familiar with the. Uh, Let me see something real quick. I do apologize. Somebody told me earlier I got to work on my arms and my dead spots. Now I haven't been to school for this. I'm not trained in this. This is just something that I do because I love you all, and I like to have invoking conversations and hear different perspective on different things and different topics, what have you. So y'all work with me. We're gonna get it all figured out eventually, and I will get better as time goes by. Uh, and we're literally less than what 5, 6 weeks left in this year. Like, who would have thought that 2023 would come at first? What's good, Dre? Appreciate you, man. Said at first it was fuzzy. What platform are you watching on, Dre? Are you watching on YouTube or are you on Facebook? Yeah, what's good, Prince? I see you out there. What platform are you watching on? Okay, now never mind. I see it. Dre, you on Facebook. Prince, you on YouTube. So thanks for letting me know. So now I know that I can see the YouTube comments on here on this particular platform. So I appreciate that. Thanks for checking it out, Prince. Um, I'm just trying to get our guests back in so we can get that conversation started. But yeah, like I was saying, it's crazy because we're literally like seemed like we were just getting into 2023, and now all of a sudden we're 6 weeks, 6 years, 6 weeks away from another year. Like, it's crazy to me. Me personally, I just feel like since the coronavirus, since 2020, it seemed like time is just standing still. Does anybody else feel that way? Like, what's y'all take on it? It's like we have no, like, we lost all concept of time for me. Since 2020, like it was so crazy. It seemed like time just stands still. It's like one day is January, the next day is July. It's like we really at the end of 2023, and it's crazy because it just like poof, it was before you know it was gone. Um, Give me a second. I'm trying to see if there's another way that I can get this to our guest. Um, Hopefully you guys can still see me while I'm trying to figure this out. Um, that's not gonna work. Let me see. Do. I apologize. I'm back here. Back with you guys. You said I see Dre said yes sir facts. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's totally different. Like this shit has disappeared. Um, I'm trying to see if there's another way that I could get our guests in. So we're not doing that because that's like the crazy echo. Okay, here we go. Let's
Can you hear
see.
me?
I can hear you now. I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so here we go. I stalled as long as I possibly can. And as I was saying earlier, I was having a conversation with somebody earlier and they were asking me about, just doing a show in general and being nervous. I'm like, to be honest with you, I wasn't nervous at all doing a show. They said, you weren't nervous for your very first show? No. This is literally like probably the only show that I have been nervous to do because of the guests that I do have today. And again, I want to start off by saying thank you for taking out the time to do this with us. Spend your time with me and my viewers as well. But a little bit about tonight's guest. Tonight we have with us as a special co-host Meet Miss Cookies, a TikTok influencer with a following of over 25,000. She passionately advocates for self-worth, self-love, self-awareness. Miss Cookie content delves into soulful discussions on relationships, accompanied by her love for soulful music. She is the host of Grown Folk live Tuesday nights, 7 Central on TikTok. So if you aren't already a subscriber, please follow her on TikTok. That's Miss Cookies, MZCOOKEEZ, and follow her on Grown Folks Boulevard. Those that watch my show, she's going for 4 hours from 7 to 11. So you could always jump over after that, like I do myself now. I just want to welcome her on the show. Thank you again, Miss Hey Hey Hey, real quick herself, Miss Cookies. How are you this evening?
I am good, but thank you for having me. I'll just say that it's a pleasure for me to be on a platform of a grown folks conversation. So I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
No doubt about it. Now, for those that don't know you, tell them a little bit about yourself before we actually get into the conversation.
Well, yeah, as you see, I am a single mother, divorce, ex-wife, husband, divorcee. I
Mhm.
have 3 adult grown children. I've been with my company for 15 years. I'm currently at home where before the COVID thing, we had to do everything from home. So I learned how to entertain myself. And TikTok was one of those platforms that did it for me. I just started off with doing karaoke. I can't sing, so I can't sing, but it was a way just to have fun. And I was recently in a relationship after I got divorced. I got back into a relationship, and within 4.5 years of that, I turned and went another way. So it has turned into from 4 followers to 25K, but I was consistent when it went from karaoke, having fun, to having grown folks conversations and topics about real things that grown people actually go through and don't mind sharing their experiences and their journey.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. That's exactly what I'm all about too. Like we started the show, and it's crazy how it came about because I believe like maybe 2018ish or 2019, I was being sarcastic and just being funny and said, hey, if I really did a show, like, would you guys will be a part of it? I was surprised and I was overwhelmed how many people said, no, that's like your lane. You have the personality for it. You know what I mean? You have the charisma. Like you're funny. You have the, you know what I mean? You talk about real things. And what I did was I was actually inspired, and I've actually shared this with him. I had the pleasure of sharing this with him. I was actually inspired to do the show, one by I feel like God first and foremost, but
Mhm.
with D Nice when the pandemic happened, what he was doing with Club Quarantine, it was like
Yes.
we can't mingle together and we can't hug one another. But what we could do is we could get on on our different platforms and we could still check on each other. We can have real conversations. You don't have to be a celebrity, so to speak, to go on Jimmy Kimmel or all these different platforms to get your voice because we was all frustrated. And the very first show that we did, it actually aired on the same day as George Floyd's homegoing service.
Okay.
So it was like, we were frustrated. We needed an outlet. The pandemic was fresh. Nobody had answers. What is coronavirus? Do I take the vaccine? Do I not? All these different questions. So it's like, yo, let's create this platform in a safe place where we're not being messy. We're not doing no Wendy Williams. We're not doing any of that kind of stuff there. Let's have a conversation with one another and try to help each other grow and educate each other on those different things. What's good, Jewel? I see you tuning in. Thanks, bro. Um, so that's kind of where the Marvin Bennett show started from. Here it is, 3 years later, 3.5 years later, we're still going. So it's just encouraging to me as well. What's good, Nicole? I appreciate you for tuning in. To be able to just randomly be on TikTok one day. Now let me see what this live is talking about. And I see this beautiful queen out here, and she's talking about different things. And well, by the time I could get in the comments, we're saying the same thing. Neither one of us, you can't speak bad to neither one of us about Anita Baker. We're obsessed with Anita Baker. And it was like we had so many different takes, and I was like, you know what? It's not about shooting a shot, so to speak, but hey, I do a show too. Would you be interested in doing my show? I'm nobody. We never met. And you said, absolutely. And I was like, I was shocked. So, it goes back to the whole passage in the scripture, like how the scripture says, pretty much paraphrasing, a closed mouth don't get fed. You have not because you ask not. And so again, I truly appreciate you taking out the time to do this because I know that you have your own movement. And again, that's one of the reasons why we didn't do the show last night and we did it tonight because I definitely wanted to have you on because I respect your point of view and I wanted to hear more of your thoughts on the different topics that, we were talking about on your show that particular night and things that we wanted to talk about in general, this topic in particular. But leading up to that, let's start with this here. Okay. So before we get into the heavy conversation, you got to have an experience, right? Because I was telling people earlier today. For those that don't know, like they say nowadays, if you know, you know. But if you don't know, I think it's disrespectful to call it a concert. I think it's disrespectful to call it a show. Like when you go to Brian Culberson, it is an experience. It's not a show. It's not a musical. It's an experience. And you said that you got to witness this for the first time. I believe it was Saturday evening. So let's start there. What was that like for you getting your cherry pop or learning about who Brian Culberson is?
Well, this was Saturday was my first time seeing him live.
Yeah,
I experienced him, via watching. I'm a fan of him, but receiving that and being there with him during all of the music of the bands and the trumpets and the bass players and all of that, having that experience as interactive as he is, back and forth. Oh my God, he gives you the opportunity to experience frequency, energy, and vibration to its highest form.
Absolutely.
And he's so interactive with the crowd that you fall in love. You get into that frequency with him. There's no way that you can leave out of that space of having an experience with Brian Covers and feeling worse or bad or sad. The vibration and the frequency is so high. Then when you leave, you have that. You feel like you've had, something. You feel like you've had a drink or something. I don't know. I can't explain it. It's weird, but it was off the chain and it lasted for a couple of days. I think I
Mhm.
still got a little bit left from it. I think I still got a little bit left from it.
And that's what I say. That's what I was saying. Like, I'm not trying to crush on you or anything like that. But we have, let's be clear for the viewers. We haven't had any conversations prior to this,
No,
other than just seeing comments. We haven't had any conversation or any interaction whatsoever, right? But I was
right?
literally with somebody today when I walked into work today. Somebody was like, like you look a little different. Like, was the show that good? and,
Oh,
and I was like, they were thinking that they were actually talking about my show, thinking that I did the show with you last night. And I was like, no.
oh.
I said, listen. I said, we doing the show tonight. I said, but she was like, well, what is it? Like, what is it about you? Like, why do you have this air about you? And I said, because right now, excuse my language, but I'm like, I'm floating on a cloud of titties. Like, that's what it felt like. It was like so like having an orgasm musically. Like, it wasn't necessarily about a sexual thing. That's why I say it's an experience. Like, it's something when you listen to the records, but when you see that, like you said, everything come together live, and how he's in tune, and he incorporates the crowd, and he feeds off he gives you what you're giving him back. Like, that's a beautiful combination, so to speak. And it was like I literally had a smile on my face all day because of the experience that I had last night. Not because I was with a woman, not because, you know what I mean, I had the best sex of my life, or nothing like that did. I'm giddy because of that experience.
But look, Marvin, I don't even smoke, and I was looking for a cigarette. Like, I don't even smoke, but I was looking for a cigarette after that. It was that deep. Like, I need a cigarette.
So for those that haven't experienced the experience of Brian Culbertson, please look him up, check him out when he's coming to your town. And I was really trying my best to surprise you tonight, but they're actually doing a show in Newborn, North Carolina. But I was trying to get my guy brother to come on just to pop in, so you can let him know, look, because you like, Darnell is your guy brother. Like, it was like, is a full body experience. So I was just gonna let him come in for a couple of seconds just so you could show him, so you could tell him rather personally your experience with the actual show. But I did tell him about it because he couldn't be on the show, and he said he does appreciate you. Brian appreciates you, and thank you so much for you
and,
enjoying the experience.
and here's the thing. I've been to the Seabreeze Jazz Festival in
Mhm.
Panama City, Florida, and
Okay.
every year they're there. I wasn't able to catch Brian a couple years ago because it rained on the day that he was there. But
Okay.
he's going to be there this year in 2024 in April. It's the Seabreeze Jazz Festival in
Mhm.
Panama City, Florida. And
Yep.
so, if you guys, I mean, I'm not here to promote it, but if you want to
Yeah.
see him, Bonnie James, Kim Waters, a bunch of them, they're
Yeah. It's
there.
quite a few. The list goes
Yeah,
on and on.
yeah,
I will definitely be there myself. So
yeah,
hopefully we can bump into each other. But
yeah. It's
if
going to be
you
a
haven't
vibe.
experienced it, it is definitely worth whatever the tickets prices are. It is a once in a lifetime experience. You can't put
Yeah,
it into words how you feel when you leave this show. And I'll
absolutely.
leave it at that. You know what I mean? But so again, one of the main topic that we wanted to talk about today, when I first caught your first live, you were talking about that, and we're gonna get in that because on your live you didn't answer that question yourself. So we're gonna double back to that particular question. But we were talking about how, with the holiday seasons coming up, and again,
Mhm.
just as a disclaimer, as I've always been saying in the last previous shows, suicide numbers are up studies show that suicide numbers are definitely up between November and December. So I always like to just put it out there. Let's check on our loved ones. Let's check on our coworkers. Let's check on our associates. Let's check on our friends. Just let's make sure everybody's good because um, suicide is prevalent, depression is real, and people go through during these holiday seasons. Whether even sometimes it has nothing at all to do with the relationship, so to
Yeah.
speak. Sometimes it can just be like, "Oh, it's Thanksgiving. I miss Mama making turkey. I miss seeing my Daddy in the kitchen baking cakes at 5 o'clock in the morning." You know what I mean? Whatever the case may be. So we all go through these holidays. So just let's check on one another and make sure that everybody's good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or that they have an outlet if they are feeling some kind of way, that you're just a listening ear, your shoulder to cry on. And they're not necessarily looking for solutions or answers, so to speak, but just let them know that you're there for them as a support system. Yo, what's good, too? Thanks for tuning in, bro. So what we want to talk about though is how traditionally is like a family holiday. Usually the women in the kitchen sometimes, and I'm not trying to sound sexist whatsoever, but traditionally, the women are in the kitchen, the guys are watching football games and what have you, the kids are running around playing and all these different things. Um, Toot said, I just said that about our vets this afternoon. Absolutely, absolutely. And shout out to our veterans, you know what I mean?
Yes.
um, those that have served and those that are going through things that we as a regular citizens can't even imagine the PTSD that they encounter and the different things that they've seen. Um, as a former athlete, we kind of talk about that. I've never made it to the league, never made it to the NBA, I never made it to the NFL, but I thought it was kind of hypocritical when you talk about somebody like a Lawrence Taylor or some of these great football players, and you ask them to be monsters and killers, so to speak, on Sunday, but once the game is over, you want them to turn that off. Like that's a hard thing to do, especially when you're actually talking about real life war and being in the trenches and your life is on the line. You know what I mean? So, and then you come back home. It saddens me, and I've said this before, but it saddens me, and I don't care who doesn't like it, but it saddens me that our the biggest percentage of our homeless population are veterans. Like, how is it that you could go lay your life on the line for this country, but come home and you don't have a place to stay?
Yeah.
I'm not talking about a house. I'm not talking about a gated community. I'm just talking about basic accommodations. You literally laid your life on the line. You risked your life for this country. How could you come back here and be homeless after the fact? I think that's a big problem for me personally, and I think we definitely got to do better. So, yeah, again, hats off and salute to all the veterans out there, people that have served. Let's definitely check on them during this time. I said last week on the show last week, even if you find yourself in a situation that we're talking about, and you're like, well, I don't really want to be around family because I get depressed and things are different. I'm not with my mate. I'm not. My kids are doing their own thing. Whatever it can be, there's always a shelter that you can find. There's always different
Mhm.
things that you can do during the holidays to volunteer, to keep yourself busy. And I promise you, those people will be grateful. You know what I mean? They think they're gonna treasure the fact that you took time out of your busy hectic scheduled life just to come spend some time with them, just to serve plates and just listen to their stories or whatever the case may be. So there's always a way to give back. You know what I mean? And everything isn't always giving back monetarily. Let's get that out of our brains. It's not always about giving money. Your time is more valuable than money. You know what I mean? So good. Shout out to you, too, for bringing that up. Toshiba, what's good, T? She said this is sad. We need to take care of our vets. Absolutely, and that's the point that we bring. We definitely need to take care of our vets. Like, of course, they volunteered to go into the military and all that things of that nature there, but at the same token, we think it's an atrocity that our teachers are underpaid. We think it's an atrocity that firemen lay their life on the line, so to speak, and still have to worry about different things. So let's just be mindful of that, and be considerate of others and what they go through. I think that is very important. Um, I've been feeding vets every holiday season since I've been in Florida. That's what's up. And don't stop now. Keep on doing it, bro. salute to you, as well as being a former vet. So back to you, Ms. Cookies, in the actual context of the conversation or the topic that at hand. What is that like for you? You mentioned that you're a parent, you're a mother of three um, adult children. You're a divorcee. You discovered another relationship. Is that still current, or now
No,
you're
that's
okay?
we've been on with for a year and a half. So
Okay,
it's on that end as far as that's when my healing journey really started about 3 years
okay,
ago. And I was in the relationship when I started my own personal healing journey that ended that current relationship.
okay. So what if, and you don't have to get into details or whatever, but what is it like for you as Thanksgiving is next Thursday, not a month from now? It's literally next Thursday. It done
Yeah,
snuck up.
well, this would be my second holiday spent by myself, but I think
Okay,
the point that I was trying to make is that once the children are grown adults and they're doing their own thing, whether they may live out of town or not, for me, the focus has just been me, and I've been selfish with my journey, finding me again, not the mother, not an ex-wife, not a sister, not an auntie, but just finding who I am as a woman, as a person. And
okay,
that required me to really just focus everybody else out of it and focus on myself and what are my values and what are the things that I stand for, and doing a lot of research on me. And that includes all of my imperfections, that includes all of my shortcomings, but that also includes the things that I'm very proud of and what I stand for. So when I say that, sometimes the holidays are a little somber, is because of the fact I'm used to being in a relationship. I enjoy companionship,
yeah,
but I'm finding companionship within myself. And that's a great thing. It still can sting a little bit when you see every other people, visiting other family members, the spouse's family, and the kids are around, and you in the kitchen cooking. It's one thing, my son lives here with me, so it's one thing to cook for your son, but it's another thing to cook for your man, for daddy.
yeah,
That's a different type of motivation. So one thing to be, to cook for my son, and he's an adult, but it's another thing to be inspired by the man that's paying the bills or taking care of you and the family. That's something totally different. So
yeah, yeah. And I could totally relate. And I think that was the beautiful thing about actually catching that particular live and getting a chance to meet you and experience your vibration and your entity, who you are as a person. And it's like I definitely want to get to know more about her, the essence of her, because I had always thought about it, but I have never articulated it or verbalized. But that's the thing. Me personally, I was married for 22 years and we were in a relationship together for 26 years. But I'm not even 50 years old. You see what I'm saying?
oh,
So the biggest balance of my life was this family dynamic, so to speak. So for me, even though I had never verbalized it, it was definitely something that I thought about, something that was real to me, even though I never spoke about it. And just because we don't address situations, don't make them go away, so to speak.
mhm.
But that was like a real thing because that was a thing when we were an item, so to speak. Like, okay, are we gonna go to your parents? Are we gonna go to my parents? Are we gonna host and everybody's gonna come here? You see what I'm saying? All those different things. When you no longer have those different, you don't have to equate that. You know what I mean? And it's not about necessarily pros and cons because I do believe that being single again, that is that's a good thing too. Like you don't have to debate that. We don't have to decide whether we're gonna go to Mississippi to your family or go to Jersey to my family or you know what I'm saying? We
Yeah.
can kind of do whatever we want to. But for us to say that it doesn't play a factor or it doesn't we don't care one way or another, I feel like that's a bold faced lie, especially when you spent significant time as a dynamic. It's going to impact you. It's definitely going to impact you. So for me to hear that from somebody that I had never met, had to hear this topic was like, We didn't really need to do a show about that because obviously I wasn't the only one that experienced this. You
Right.
weren't the only one that has experienced this. Everyone else is experienced the same thing. So why not let us all come together and talk about it? You know what I mean? Let's be therapy for one another. So I thought it was just a beautiful topic, and I was glad that you brought it up. But again, it's like, and it's like it's not like it's necessary that puts you in a state of depression. Nothing like that there. But it is different. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's different. Like you say, when you're thinking about cooking for your man. Okay, I still could cook, but
Yeah.
my reason why. And I was having a conversation with someone last week, and I heard something in an interview that I was watching about a month ago, but it stuck with me. And it was saying, it really doesn't matter. Pretty much to paraphrase, it really doesn't matter the behavior or the decision made. Oh no, the why doesn't matter if the results aren't. The result doesn't matter if the why isn't addressed, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So therefore, like, it doesn't matter how you got to how you are. If the reason and why, if I shared why I feel with you this way, and that doesn't change, then it really doesn't matter how empathetic you are, how sympathetic you are. That's all totally irrelevant. The results are the same. I'm hurt, or I'm in love, or whatever the case may be. That's a real thing. That's a real factor. So people don't take that into consideration a lot of times. I feel, but to say that again, it doesn't make a difference. I call cap, as the young people like to say today. You know, I call cap. Whether you want to put on the tougher side or not, and it's not that you miss that person, you miss that scenario.
The companionship. It's the
Exactly.
companionship of that. It's the practice, it's the routine, it's the
Mm,
going getting the turkey or going grocery shopping the night before or the couple weeks before. It's what leads up to that. And so you have to be, well, I'm going to be honest with myself that I have those moments. I can have those emotional moments. I don't become the emotion though. So I can have that feeling. I just don't allow that to fester. I
mm,
don't allow that to go from wanting to be back with my ex because I'm feeling a certain way on the holiday. No, no, that says that I'm human enough to acknowledge the feeling. I allow the feeling, but I don't become the feeling, and that is
mm,
okay. But I
yeah.
think a lot of times when we don't work on ourselves and when we don't have the ability to get to know who we are, when we look at spending time with ourselves as something that's like, oh my God, being single is a curse. No, this is the time for you to learn to grow. This is the time for you to get to learn and love yourself, spending quality time with yourself, so that in the midst that you invite another person in, you know exactly what you're looking for.
Mm,
We have plenty of experience of what we don't like, but how many people know exactly what they do like? How many
ex-
people, if I ask you, who are you? How many people can say who they are without mentioning their degree, their status, what they have and what they do?
mhm,
So if you ask me, who am I? If you ask me that question, I should be able to answer that question to describe who I am as a woman, not my marital status, not what I do, not what I have, and not what I've accomplished. Because so much we're so caught up with the exterior part of that, of
mm,
matching and things looking correct and looking good on paper.
yeah.
But then we make relationships and get attachment into relationships based on what it looks like and how good it looks on paper, right? And then when you get to know who that person really is, now you realize they're not a good match, but you never asked about the character. You never was concerned about his heart or her heart. You never was concerned about their spiritual relationship with God or whoever they serve. you didn't
Mhm,
you didn't question the things of character, of their morals and values and boundaries and standards. We don't put emphasis on that. We put emphasis on the surface stuff, and then
mhm,
we jump into a marriage or relationship and find out later that they really wasn't a good match. we
yeah.
we're really
Exactly.
not compatible. But now here comes the kids, here comes the time invested, so now you end up staying with that person to save
Mhm,
face.
mhm. And it's funny that you would. Before I get to my next question, on why you're there, I posted last week or before the show last week. We were talking about nobody was really in the comments or nobody shared their experience. So I want to ask you why I'm actually talking to you. Um, how do you feel about that? And I kind of got an idea, but how do you feel about that? Everybody's not in a relationship, and I respect the fact that couples won't necessarily comment on this, so to speak. But everybody's not in a relationship because they're in love. Like some people just don't want to get old by themselves. They don't want to go to the doctor's appointment alone. Like so it's not that you're with this person because you love them. You just want somebody to grow old with or to help you. All these different things there. For you personally as an individual, what is more important to you? Being
Well,
alone?
I'm
You know,
probably gonna get people a little razzled and dazzled when I
okay.
say this.
Speak
Okay.
it. Speak it.
It won't be, I won't marry again because of love in itself by itself. Love is never enough to keep anybody together.
Exactly.
So when if we say and base an idea of being with someone purely based on love,
Mhm.
then we may set ourselves up for a time when we don't feel like that we still love that person, but you made a commitment to be with them. So when
Mhm.
the so-called love runs out, what solidifies that relationship? How do you get through the times when you don't feel like I love them? I don't feel like I like you.
Mhm.
What's going to keep you guys striving together? And I know some people may say, well, that's love. Love is going to keep it. No, 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 no. Because there are plenty of people that we love, right?
Mhm.
That we are not with, but we still
Exactly.
love them. We have a sense of love for them and forever will always love them, but it wasn't enough to keep us together.
And to take it a step further, if you remove the romantic factor, we deal with the same dynamic with families. We love our brother, our sister, our auntie, our uncle, but we don't mess with them because hello. So again, to your point, and I'm not saying this, I'm not hating on marriage. I still believe, even though I'm divorced, I still believe in the union of marriage, all that good stuff. But again, to your point, if I was to do it again, people are like, well, you don't date, like what's going on with you? I'm good with finding out who I am. Like I'm cool with that. That's like a beautiful place to me. I could be in a relationship if I want to, but I don't want to be in a relationship just for the sake of being in a relationship.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So, but I don't think that a lot of people are comfortable with that. Toshiba, one of the viewers said real quick, I'm human enough to acknowledge the feeling, to feel the feeling, but not to succumb to the feeling. Powerful. I guess that's something that you said. Um, she
Having
said,
the
you're right.
emotion, experiencing the emotion, that there's nothing wrong with us having an emotional a day. Today may be an emotional day for you today, and that's okay because you're human. But allow those emotions to surpass and say that even though that's how I'm feeling right now, and as women know, our feelings change within the weather, and so even though we're having those type of emotions, don't allow that emotions to become. You don't have to become that emotion. You know, you don't have to per se become that and allow that to lead you in a decision that you might regret. Don't allow you feeling lonely at that time lead you to answer the phone or calling that ex that you know is it's over with. It's not good for you. So that's probably what she meant. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. Who is T Rex? What's good, T? Thanks for tuning in. T Rex said, love is just a dream. The connection has to be right. Absolutely. And that's the point that we both were making because love alone is not going to cut it. Love alone is not. You have to we have to have real conversation. And one of the things that I used to do when I was counseling, um, in a former life, so to speak, but when I would counsel people that were getting ready to get married and, different things of that nature there. And one of the things that I would say was, this is a personal thing. This ain't theology. This isn't, you know what I mean? None of that. But I think far too many times people get married based off of potential. And I think that could be problematic. You know what I mean? Especially when you're young, when you're in your 20s, when you're in your 30s. You know what I mean? Well, yeah, he's going to school and he wants to be a dentist and he wants to be a pharmacist and she wants to be a
Yeah.
professor and all those things there. Okay, so yeah, I found a good one. But let's say, for example, one night they partying and they wind up getting addicted to crack or whatever the case may be. Like, are you still going to be committed to that same person? And I'm not saying that you shouldn't, because if that connection was real, I would always say I would like to think that if my significant other turned into a crackhead, even though I wouldn't purposely seek out a crackhead, so to speak,
Yeah.
that if that's the person that I love and that's the partner and that's who I want to spend forever with, okay, if it takes me going up in the crack house to bring you out
Yeah.
every other day, then that's what I'm willing to do.
Yeah.
Not, okay, well, that's something I tried, I did what I could do. You gotta fight your own demons. Like, that's a whole different aspect of love to me, because I believe that love, we don't set ourselves over boundaries like that. So my point was, I think that far too many people get married based off of who the other person could be or has the potential to be, but not who they are for right now.
Yeah.
Because I could want to go to school to be a doctor, but let's say it don't work out, and I just wanted to being a manager at Food Lion or whatever the case may be. Are you still going to be happy with me? Do you love me for who I am, or are you comfortable with the situation and the dream?
I see that's the thing. First of all, we got to understand the different types of love,
Hmm.
that are there, that describe the love of a parent versus the love for a best friend versus the love for your brethren, for your kind, and versus the love of sexual love. So I think the more that we understand and unveil and unravel who we are, self-love, self-worth, self-acceptance, accountability, the more we dissect that about us, then we're able to have an extension of that within your partner.
Okay.
So for me, I'm gonna speak for me personally. I had to learn and love who I am, even in knowing that I was a villain in somebody else's story. So if you ask me, well, why did I get divorced? Or you ask me why my last relationship didn't work out, I'm not gonna sit there and blame and say what he did. I'm gonna say that we went on different ways, we were on different pages. And I'm gonna say that I also was the villain in the relationship. There's some things that I could have done better too, but I did not have that type of awareness. Now that I do, I move differently. Why is that? Because now I'm learning myself. I'm learning to apply tools, read books, seminars, educate myself on emotional intelligence, educate myself on self-awareness, educate myself on the concept of self-worth and what does that mean, and how do you become the best version of yourself. Even though I know what my flaws are and the areas where I need improvement, I became a willing student. I'm always learning, willing to learn from someone else, something better than myself, to say that, okay, these are my flaws. This is my mess. Let me clear it up because it's not on you. My happiness is my responsibility. It's not your
Hmm.
husband, your wife, the kids, nobody else's responsibility. So what I'm saying is get to learn and love you. Find out who you are. Find out what you love, what you don't love. Find out what you like, what you don't like. And you build from that. If you have a list as to what you want in another partner, become that. If you say, I want peace, well, you need to operate in peace already. If you say, well, I
Absolutely.
want to be loved, make sure you're lovable. If you say,
Hmm.
I want a compassionate, understanding person, become an understanding, compassionate person. Whatever that it is that you require out of someone else, make sure you yourself house that, become that, so that you can manifest that person, that mirror, that person into your life. So I don't care whatever list you have, that's fine. But are you able to give that same desires and things that you have for someone to bring to you? Do you have that to give as well? So
Hmm.
when you start looking at that list and those desires that we have that you want somebody else to feel, it get real humbling. That list will
Hmm.
start getting shorter and start being more realistic because you're asking yourself the question, the heart self, am I
Yeah.
understanding?
Hmm.
Am I faithful? And I'm willing to love unconditional? Is my love conditional or not? And those are situations, Marvin, that you said, if your partner somehow gets ill or whatever, are you still willing to love them as if they're not? Those are real deal things that we should be asking for before asking the Most High or making your prayer, your request known, is that you become that husband or wife before you even have that. Don't
Hmm.
ask for a husband or wife until you become it yourself. Don't
Yeah.
ask for a partner, a healthy partner, or a partner that is understanding if you have yet to be understandable. We're asking for things from other people that we're not willing to give ourselves, and we can't even give to anyone else. So we're creating this fantasy of a person that doesn't exist until you become it.
That's it. That's it. For all the church folk that's out there that's viewing, that's a whole message in itself. Please pass the offering plate to MZCOOKEEZ2U. She can get you a cash app and all that there. Please donate because that's a whole message in itself. But it's something, I'm being funny, but it's something that is so true. And I see you, Ty. Good looking, Ty. Um, yeah, that's exactly what it is, Dre. Andre tuning in from Mississippi. He said, "Grown folks talk tonight," and that's exactly what we're doing. It's grown folks talk tonight. Again, let's plug Grown Folks Boulevard on TikTok Tuesday nights, 7 to 11 Central Time. You know what I mean? 8 to 12 on the East Coast time. You can check
Yeah,
out Miss Cookie's Head and engage in these same kind of conversations along with great music as well.
yeah,
Um, but it's a whole vibe and it's a whole atmosphere. But you know what you said, like I said, real all jokes aside, what you said is powerful. That Toshiba had in the comments, she said some people love the lifestyle, not the person, and I think that that's problematic sometimes, and is reality. You know what I mean? It's like how many people, and I've always said the same thing when it comes to like professional athletes and different things of that nature. There, I know some people. One thing we don't do on the show, we don't name names, but I know people that are with this person. I think it's hypocritical, right? For you to be a young woman talking about, um, I would never, I would never stand for that. But it's different if you're married to, and let's say, for example, reasons only. I'm not talking about him personally, but let's say LeBron James or Patrick Mahomes. He get more freedom than the dude that works at Kroger, the dude that works at Home Depot, the dude that works at, you know what I'm saying? He gets more leeway. Like, why is that? If you're going to stand on what you stand on, and you're not going to deal with that, you're not going to tolerate cheating. And you made a good point about that too on one of your shows too, that I would love to get into too. But it's like, you know, do you just throw away a whole relationship because someone cheated once? And that's for the men and women out there that's viewing. Do you throw away the whole relationship because they cheated once? Or do you factor in, well, he does have a good job, so I might forget him now, but I'm not going to support him and he's cheating on me. You see what I'm saying? Like the movie Acrimony, so to speak. So there are levels to it, but I don't, I was, and the reason I brought that up is because I was having a conversation recently, and you know, you hear that saying all the time, once a cheater, always a cheater. I don't believe that. I honestly do believe that people can change. It doesn't change the fact that you did what you did, but people can change. The same way, if you're not even talking about cheating, there are people that used to smoke 2 packs a day, but they no longer smoke cigarettes. You know what I mean? You can't say, well, you're gonna always be a smoker in my eyes. Okay, I could be that in your eyes, but it doesn't. Your I always try to tell people your perception of me does not make that my reality. And I think it's important for us to understand that because when you're using a measuring stick of what everyone else thinks of you, that's problematic. You got to have those real conversations and those real examinations of self
hmm
to say, you know what? Okay, everybody else sees me as intimidating, but I feel like I'm mad approachable. And there may be some things that I could change to make people feel more comfortable talking to me. Because again, like you say, I don't like to do generalizations. Me myself, I remember being told by somebody that I really value their opinion one time. They was like, "You're so unapproachable," and I was like, "Well, why would you say that?" And they was like, "You intimidate everybody," and I'm like, "I hear that, I respect that, but I have no control because I speak passionately. Whether
hmm
I'm talking about love, whether I'm talking about basketball, whether I'm talking about football, whether I'm talking about the job, I can't help that if you find the way that I talk intimidating. That's an internal problem. That's something for you to work out. You know what I mean? But because that's the way you perceive me to be, that's not going to be my reality. I'm not going to say, well, I need to calm down, because now I feel like that's being fake and phony somewhat. Like, when do I get the room or the space and the freedom to be myself or who I am and voice my opinion? Why do I have to take into consideration the temperature of the room for me to speak my mind? I'm not that type of individual. You see what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that that's the right way, but I acknowledge the fact that that's who I am. So I'm not going to be uncomfortable to make you comfortable and everybody else comfortable. How do you feel about that?
I totally agree. What we have to realize is that people project how they feel and how they view you onto you or out there. So if someone comes and say, hey, you're too loud and you always doing this and you're extra and special, that is not necessarily meaning that that's what you're projecting. That's what they project from inside of them. So there's something about them that is projecting that. You get what I'm saying? That's how they really feel about you and what they're lacking from within themselves. So your perception, your how you view me is, like you just said, is not my reality. Is I don't have to receive that. That
Yeah.
is a you thing. And if you think that I'm the bum, then yeah, I'm the bum. But what we're not doing is watering ourselves down to make anybody feel comfortable. We're not doing that. In 2023, 2024 starting, we're not. We're going to become our full selves. Now, let's talk about cheating. I'm going to say this and understand it from a different perspective. I believe to cheat successfully is a rich man's sport. I think that when you have the money and the means to provide a lifestyle, right, above average, because we're talking about people that are above average, right? They're not, they're making well over 100K. They're making hundreds of K, million. Okay, so I think that when you have that type of lifestyle and that type of money, it changes people and it gives you power.
Absolutely.
And there are some things that a lifestyle that you know that this person can only give you, that if you walk away, you're not going to find that just somewhere else. So I think that there are women, or let me say people, that are willing to put up with those things because of the lifestyle that it affords them and their children.
I agree.
Now, let's speak on a person who has integrity, morals, respect, and values, right? And they happen to cheat. I think we can look at that and bear witness and say, is this a part of their character? Have they been consistent in this? Or is this just a mistake that they really did make? And so we have to be mindful on when we talk about, is this, because cheating, continue to cheat is a decision. You're constantly making a decision, even though that's still a decision the first time. Was this a first time? Does this represent who this person is?
Isolated
and
incident.
then and then we have to have that difficult conversation as to why. What happened? Even though I know that was a decision that you made and it's not a reflection per se on me, what brought you into that space to where you felt that you was willing to risk everything that you have for that moment? Now, see, we can't expose it and point fingers and blame without having to come back and have that tough, rough conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can't have one point the finger and then put up on the rug and no one takes accountability, and that we got to talk about it. Those uncomfortable conversations that should be having before those situations happen. And if you're with a partner that you cannot be 1,100% honest, even in the most uncomfortable conversations, what do you really have?
Yeah, you don't need to be with them.
Because when the rough waters come, because they come in, when the storms come, because they're going to come, how are you able to sustain that if you cannot be honest with the person, your partner? That's why I think it's so important to be friends, and friends to the point where I can be your best friend, you could be my best friend. Let's take the wife husband hat off. I need my best friend right now. Let's talk about this. I need my best friend. No judgment. I need my best friend right now on everything. I need to talk to my best friend. And I think that's, if we would do that, how we do our own friendships. Think about that, Marvin. Think about your friendships with your partners, that your guy friends you've been having for well over 20 plus years. How is it that our friendships outlast our marriages and our relationships?
It's a different level of
What's the
loyalty.
difference?
Yeah.
So we apply that same tenacity, that same understanding, that same compassion that we have for our so-called best friends than we do with the partner, the person that we land with every night. Maybe we can infuse the two and be successful in both.
Okay, that's a good one. Prince said, I'm not sure if you can see the comments or not. I got them on the screen with us. But
It's
Prince said, I've seen all classifications of people cheat. I think it's more so the lust of man that is at the root. And that could be true in some cases. I believe that there is no tell all for that, for the simple fact that everybody's gonna have a different reasoning. Just like I always use the forget cheating in love. The workplace. Let's say we both work at Walmart, right? You're working at Walmart because I think this is a hell of a company and I believe in the benefit package and all that there. I'm working at it because I'm retired from my first job and I'm tired of sitting at home all day. Somebody else that's 22 years old, they just wait till the next college semester start. So they don't really care about. But we all get paid as Walmart employees. But we all have a different reason why.
mm-hmm.
So our drive and the reason our ride is not going to all be the same. Um, so I like that though. Nicole, so she asked, and I'm gonna let you address this one. So Nicole said, and I'm sorry I didn't tell you that, but that's what we do on the show sometimes. Like, we address
That's fine.
comments and sometimes they have questions for us. So Nicole said, so how does someone cheating become excusable?
I don't think it becomes excusable, but I think we have to understand. I think I gave a situation as to why people excuse it continually.
Mm-hmm.
We know that if you step outside your relationship, that's a them problem. That's not a you problem. The excuses may be legitimate, but does not take away the fact, the act that was done. I was explaining the character between a man that actually made a mistake, or not a man, a person that actually made a mistake
Mm-hmm.
versus a person that's making a decision to cheat on their spouse.
Yeah.
And I said, well, let's look at the two situations. Let's look at one by character. Is that something that has happened previous times before? Do they stand with integrity?
Mm-hmm.
Are they apologetic? Are they willing to talk about it and get some help, whatever that's needed, in order to not allow that mistake to happen again? Or just a person that's continually in their behavior? Because we know an apology is a changed behavior. And I think that's the part when you have to look at it and assess it and say, okay, well, is this, even though that person stepped outside of this, because I'm not condoning cheating. So let me make that clear. I'm not condoning it. Is this
Mm-hmm.
a part of something that had happened? Or is this a part of something that this is what this person was doing before I met them, after and during the relationship? So where is do you throw it, do you make a decision to walk away from it being the first time and adding to their character? This is a part of their character, this is something that happened. Because we got to be honest. Nobody is excused from that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody, this stuff happens, right? In real life. And we can't walk in this life in our own willingness or our own strength. You have to have strength outside of yourself in order to remain faithful. You can't operate in your strength because you're not strong enough. We're not strong enough to do that in your own strength. So you have to have discipline, self-discipline that is also outside of you. You're going to have the real relationship with God and with yourself and understanding what it is, because temptation is going to be there. So what makes you say no? What makes you walk away? And my point is that even in the times, even the strongest men fall. Even the
Mm-hmm.
most men that have integrity and respect and morals, they still fall. So
Yeah.
where do you have that space to say this was a one-time thing versus this is just what this person does? And what I
Yeah.
was saying, that it seems as if that women that do stay and that do tolerate a person that is cheating, it is because of the lifestyle that they can afford, that nobody else will be able to give them that, until
Yeah.
that no longer becomes exciting, until they've been around that lifestyle long enough and then they're tired,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes
I
sense.
agree. I totally agree with that. Nicole said it's not a mistake to me. I don't care. It's over. When I was naive, I gave ultimatums, but not anymore. And to your point, I think the perfect analogy or the perfect example, and of course I'm silly, so I do make fun of a lot of things, but you take, for example, the movie The Best Man, right? I
Yes.
always tell people, I thank God for people that it's just the movie too. But if you ever been in a real life situation similar to that, I look at like that, what you're saying. That was a mistake. That was a one time thing. They didn't continually keep sleeping with one another. Now, you feeling some kind of way because this is the woman that you're about to marry. But dude, you're not even loyal to her. Like, so it's like a double standard. It's hypocritical because you continually cheat. So to me, as a man, I don't even feel like it was the fact that she cheated on you. It was more or less who she cheated on you with. So that's two totally different things to me. You know, it's easy to say, well, I'm not dealing with it. And once you cheat, I'm done. Because sometimes, depending on who it is, if I never even met this dude, I don't really care. You know what I'm saying? But if it's somebody that I've been in the trenches with, this is supposed to be my boy, this is supposed to be my brother, I'm going to feel some kind of way.
Yeah.
Whether it was one time, whether it was 30 times, I'm going to feel some kind of way. And y'all might not even went as far as having sex with one another. It could have been something as simple as a kiss, or you held it the right way, and she felt comforted in your hug more than she
Yeah.
ever felt in any of my hugs. That's gonna make me feel some kind of way.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
I
saying?
think we have to be realistic in our expectations. And that same grace and mercy, and I'm not here to condone it. Please don't get that in thinking that I condone cheating in any shape, form, or fashion. But what I am suggesting is that when you have a man or you have someone that has built a life for themselves that's based on morals, principles, values, because guess what? Good people still cheat.
Yeah,
And good people still fall short, and godly people still do things that's ungodly. So we
absolutely.
have to be realistic in understanding that no one is excused above that. That temptation happens to everyone. You're not excused from it. Now, with the decision that you make, what does that change the trajectory of it? Absolutely. But with that being said, we're talking about people that are married and standing on principles. And if they fall short, now if they fall short, what do you do? Do you completely close the door of everything that you guys have built because of a mistake? Or do you walk away and say, and then meet another man, another woman that probably can do the same thing? It'll be a repetitive pattern, right? So I'm not condoning it. However, I think we have to be realistic with um, the desire, or realistic with the expectations that we have. And I know that it's oblong. I know it's men can do this and men can do that. I don't think all men cheat. So I'm not the one to think that every man cheats. I don't think that every woman cheats. I think that it's a reflection of who you are. Right. And I think that there's a way to have a successful relationship when we are exclusive, but we have to pull from another source. You're not strong enough to do it in your own will. You're just not.
Yeah,
You're not. You got to pull from a different source. You're going to pull from a higher source. You're going to pull from God, because there are people that is out here sent to destroy and to attack you in your marriage. Like, they are literally sent to do that.
by design, exactly.
That's by design. So you have to guard yourself, not just in standing on the word, but actually implementing it. And this is one thing I want to say. This is why being single is so important. You practice self-discipline when you're single. I have every reason to, we have every reason to date and single and sleep and do with whoever, however many we want to. We have every reason. Neither one of us are married. So morally, there's nothing there to say, hey, I can't because I'm single. But in my singleness, I'm willing to practice self-discipline, so that in the event that I decide to be in a relationship, guess what? I'm not easily swayed. I'm not easily moved, because I practiced self-discipline while I was single, while I had access to do whatever I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. That's powerful right there. That's excellent. because I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that 1000%. Because it's funny, like especially and when you think along those terms, it's like is to for me personally is different. I don't like to do generalizations, but it's like when you've been with someone for so long, you really don't have an idea who you are. That's
Yeah.
why I think that, like you said, to your point to being single, I think that that's very pivotal because I'm not being arrogant. If I wanted to be, I know some dudes that's like, yo, if my wife die, I'm gonna be married in 2 months because I can't be alone. That's not right. That's nothing. I'm not saying that that's right. I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm not
Right.
saying any of that. I don't judge you. You feel me? But for me, people are like, well, what is it that you're looking for in a woman? My honest answer is I'm not looking for anything because I don't know what it is that I want. And I'm a person that I believe in God. I believe in the power of God. I believe in the higher power, right? So my mindset as an individual is why would I waste my time thinking not even as a believer. Let me backtrack. I'm not just a believer. I'm a person that I truly wholeheartedly I'm trying to think of the word to say it best without I don't really care about offending people, but I really care what God thinks. I respect God enough to care what he thinks. So my point is why would I feel like wasting my time in thinking, well, I want a woman that I find beautiful. I want a woman that does for herself, that she doesn't need me for anything. I want a woman that's just whatever it may be. Why would I think about that in my singleness as opposed to, well, God, if you do have someone for me, who is it that you want for me?
Hmm.
Because a lot of times I was talking about this earlier. When we have our will, and because God gives us free will, those are two totally different things. Our will versus God' perfect will for our life, if you believe in that. And 9 times out of 10, those wills are going to be totally different. So if I really care about pleasing the Almighty, why would I waste my time out and coming up with my list? And my list has nothing to do with his list. I feel like that's a waste of my time. That's just me personally, right? So I don't. But you ask me what I want, I don't know. I do know that attractiveness. That's something that I would like. I'm not saying God will, as long as she's pretty on the inside and she's beautiful on the inside. Okay, I made a joke with somebody the other day. It's kind of cold hearted, but it is what it is. But what if she's a beautiful person on the inside? Well, I'm like, well, God needs to flip her ass inside out because I need to be with somebody that I find attractive in the same way. Now, just because you're attractive physically into my eye doesn't mean that you're a good person and I'm going to be with you either. You see what I'm saying? But I believe in the whole package. So I care more about what he has for me as opposed to thinking about, this is a good time in my life to figure out what it is that I want. Because what I want might not be what God has for me. And that's a big difference. I don't think a lot of people take that into consideration because we so caught up into what it is that we want in the right now. But I don't want to be alone. Who wants to be alone at 50? Who wants to be alone at 60? Nobody wants to die alone. Like, okay, but what if you care about pleasing God? What if he say that that's what it is? Everybody in the Bible wasn't married. Everybody in the Bible wasn't. You know what I'm saying? So that whole notion of, well, there's somebody for everybody. That's not true either. Everybody isn't necessarily meant to be married. There
Yeah.
are some people that are their life purpose are to be single because you're going to be no matter what it is, however God chooses, whether it's marriage or non-marriage, God uses all of that for his glory in the end. So What it is you're giving without you even knowing, you're giving strength to other single people because Miss Cookies, she found her whole thing outside of marriage, and she found out the woman that she is, and she's powerful and all that. There, maybe I could do the same exact thing. Not maybe
Yeah,
the exact same way as her, but she's an example. I draw strength from her. You see what I'm saying? And things of that nature. And I don't think a lot of times I think we get so caught up in self that we don't take that into consideration, so to speak.
I think
But
we're looking outside of ourselves, Marvin. We
mhm,
looking outside of ourselves to fill a void that we have to fill from within ourselves. Like you're looking outside of you to fill you. And that's the problem. We have so many people filling the voids through other people things that are not filling it for them. You know, you after you done had all the women, all the men, after you done partied and kicked it and smoked and drank and sex and did all that, somehow you're still empty because you're searching outside of you. It's you versus you. It's been filled up with you. What is it that you need
absolutely.
to do for you to fill you up? Because you're going to always come into another person that's going to come up short. It's
Mhm.
not your responsibility. Your happiness is your responsibility. And you don't know that until you spend time with yourself. You are not
Absolutely.
aware of who you are and what you deserve and what you want until you spend some alone time with you. And if I'm constantly afraid to do that, if I don't want to do that, I'm going to continue to bring people into my life that are only there temporarily. One of the subjects that we talk about on my live is attachment versus alignment. And then
Okay.
in this season, as your singleness, you know, we should be concerned with alignment because we have been proven and shown ourselves that we know how to be attached to people. They got a good degree, they got a good job, they look good on paper, they make good money, you know, they say the right things, they have a good car, they have a nice car, their credit is straight. We have all those things that can attach us. You know, we were high school sweethearts. We went to, you know, I've been knowing them since whatever. But we fall short when it comes to the alignment. And alignment is to say, well, how are we equally yoked? What about their character? What about their morals, their principles? What are the things that they stand for? What are their boundaries? Those things are in alignment. Attachment is what looks good. It feels good. It looks good on paper. But alignment is what God has for you. So when you said that, I want what God wants for me.
Hmm.
Now we're walking in the spirit and the purpose of alignment. And until
Hmm.
you can walk in that and to have that type of conversation, stop asking God to send you a wife or a husband and a partner. Become that. Ask God to make you into the partner, the husband, the wife that you need to be for your husband and your wife. We're asking for the wrong stuff. Ask God to touch you and to make sure that you are put together so that when he bring his son or daughter to you, you're able to take care of them successfully and willingly intentional. We
Hmm.
should be in a space of intentional intentions. Move with intentions. Live with intentions. Be specific. You want to be in alignment, not just in relationships, but you should want to be in alignment with your purpose. And
Yes.
that covers over all of that. That
Hmm.
covers job, finding a career that brings purpose and fill you up with that. So we should be more concerned with alignment versus attachment because attachment has cost us. Alignment doesn't cost you anything, it gives you everything. Alignment costs you, but attachment it gives, it pours into you. Get earnings from alignment because when you're in alignment with the will of God and with the purpose, all the things that you desire comes with that. So it multiplies. But in attachment, you attach to somebody, they cost you. What do they cost you? Peace of mind, money, sometimes respect, right?
Hmm.
They cost you things that you're not willing to take from that. You like, you costing me too much because you're not in alignment.
Hmm. And it's funny that you say that because, like, to your point, the same way you could be attached to something, you can also get detached from something. So it's different. You know what I mean? Nicole said, "Yes, I need alignment. Thank you. That was for you." Toshiba had something that I wanted to address, and the comments done disappeared because I didn't want to cut you off. But she was saying, like, I'm tired of men always cheating without thinking about the pain that it causes, and using it as an excuse, so to speak. And I'm glad while I was listening to you as you were talking. I was glad you kept correcting yourself, bro. You know, a man, no people, and that's the point that I'll make. That's from a man's perspective. Let's not get it twisted. People cheat. It's not a man thing. I know plenty of women that cheat on their significant others. I've been saying it for the last 5 to 6 years. It's almost like, people of our age group is like, Toshiba, there you go. She said, Toshiba, if you can put your question back up there so I could let Miss Cookies address it. But she said she is powerful. Drop that knowledge. Attachment versus alignment. Um, but I'm a big believer that, not necessarily a big believer, but on my own personal observation, it's like, I think you were talking about. Matter of fact, you were talking about on that first show that I saying, was it easier to cheat in the '90s versus today? And I
Yes.
think that was like the only thing that we ever disagreed on, because I was like, it was much easier back then. And it was like, because, you didn't have people posting where you at. You didn't know who I was. It wasn't no pictures and all that kind of stuff there. If you caught me back then, guess what? I was a horrible cheater.
Right.
You
That
know what I mean?
three-way, on that three-way phone call, you messed up.
And it seemed like from maybe 2010ish to now, it seems like what we could, and for lack of a better term, is like the niggas is the new chicks and the chicks is the new niggas, so to speak. It's like the roles have reversed. Because I know women that they grew up on Little Kim and that whole mindset. And it's like, you know what? Y'all had y'all turn. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Now I got the ball. Now I dictate. You know what I mean? So guess what? You ain't cheating better than me. You don't even know I slept with your homie.
Yeah.
So it's not just a male thing. It's just not a female thing. People cheat. Now, like I said, I believe that those reasons why are always changed, because that was part of her question. Why do they not? Why do they cheat without thinking about the pain that it causes, or what does a woman have to do to keep a man from cheating? And for me and my personal experience, when we talk about cheating, what I can say is there is nothing that you could do, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing that you could do from preventing someone from cheating on you. Okay. Oh, here it is. She just reposted it again. She said, "Repeat. Why isn't love enough to keep a man from cheating? Why can't a man think about the pain that he will cause? I'm tired of men acting like they are weak to the wiles of women. That's an excuse. They don't want to be faithful." Okay. So
Okay.
back to the point that I was making and I'm gonna let you address that. But
Okay.
from my personal experience, from a man's perspective, um, why isn't love enough? It's not about love, because when I stepped out on my marriage, it was not because my ex-wife did anything wrong. It wasn't because she wasn't paying me any attention. It wasn't because I didn't feel like I could go to her. It wasn't because I felt like I was tired of her. I was literally stupid. I did it just like Nike because I could. I didn't even want to. I literally did not want to, but it didn't stop me from doing it nonetheless. So that had nothing at all to do with her whatsoever. That was all me. And I felt like, I'm telling you, when I talk about the lowest of all lows after the fact, and it was like, dude, look what you've been working for. Look what you have built. Look what you have established. And you destroyed that because of what? Like, not because you wanted to, just simply because you could. That's a whack excuse. That's a whack reason. But if I'm being totally honest, which I always am, that was my reality. I didn't cheat because I had to. I didn't cheat because she didn't love me. I didn't cheat because she wasn't in love with me or she wasn't measuring up. It had nothing to do with her. That was my own stupidity on my part. And there was no real reason. I think I would feel better about it if it was like, well, I had a rough day and I wanted to come home and talk to you about it, and you ain't had time. You were too busy. None of those things were a factor. I was just an idiot in the situation. So therefore I have to live with that. You know what I'm saying? And what I did was, to your point earlier, Not only do I have to live with that, but guess what? More importantly, I learned from that. Because like you were talking about with the self-discipline, guess what? I wouldn't respect another man if he did the same thing and that was his reason. So therefore, I can't respect you. I can't respect myself for that thing. So we gotta work on that first. You know what I'm saying? You don't never want to go back down that road. So what you gotta do? You gotta execute more self-discipline. Say, you know what? Even though I can, I it ain't worth it. It ain't worth it. I'm not even really feeling you like that. There, we can be friends, and if we can't just be friends, then we can't be nothing. But I wasn't willing at that particular time. I didn't have the maturity or the growth to. But my point is, I've grown from it. I've learned from that experience, and I ain't got to worry about that happening again because I know that I can be faithful if I want to be, if I discipline myself enough to. And women are the same exact way. I know women that have cheated on they significant other multiple times, but years later they learn from those mistakes. You know what? I've been playing Russian roulette far too long. It ain't worth me losing what I got. And again, it's not about finances. It's not about always. Doesn't always come down to the finances. I finally found I got somebody that accepts me for me. And like you say, I can speak my mind. I don't have to put on a facade. I don't have to be strong today. If I want to be weak and vulnerable, I could be that with this person. That's hard to find. So I'm going to risk that for great sex, okay sex, which I don't know whether it's going to be what. You know what I mean? It's like it's a level of maturity that you have to take into account and you have to consider. So that's one of the things that me personally, because a lot of people don't like to, I don't expect people to be in the comments on that. Well, yeah, I cheated and all that did. Again, I'm a transparent prophet. I use my pain to grow and share my experience with others. Hopefully that it'll help them. You know what I mean? So that you can learn from my mistakes, so to speak. She said, Marvin, thank you for your transparency. What's a respectable reason for cheating? Again, like Miss Cookie said, I don't believe that anything is necessarily excusable, or I wouldn't even go as far as say a respectable reason for cheating. Yeah, I feel like now at this age of my life, if I feel like man or female, if you're at the point where you're willing to cheat, I will respect you more if you say, you know what, I got to step back from us. Like you ain't did nothing, boo, and I love you, and it ain't got nothing to do with you, but I need some me time, as opposed to cheating. You know what I'm saying? And just because you could get away with it. I don't believe that there's nothing is respectable about cheating. I would rather walk away from the situation and leave it alone and go do what I'm gonna do as opposed to cheating on you. My
I'm
bad.
proud of the fact that you just
Long-winded on
showed
that.
vulnerability,
Huh?
and you showed accountability as a man. So hey, I that's far few and in between to even for to be accountable for your actions, but to be vulnerable in front of other people, and especially being a black man, and say, hey, no, I'm gonna call out my stuff. That was my stuff. I messed up. It had nothing to do with her. So ladies, that is a way for us to take that heed and understand that men are doing something that's in their behavior that may or may not be out of their control. That's a them thing. It has no reflection on you. Now, your responsibility is to say, am I worthy enough to continue to be with the person that has shown me? I'm sure way in the beginning, I'm sure people that mess up don't just out the blue just do that. Before you said I do a hey, how you doing? In between that time, I'm quite sure they showed who they were. Now, what happens is a lot of times we believe and make up ideas in our head and excuses to be with that person. So if I make up excuses in the very beginning when it first happened, if I make those excuses up into making myself think and to believe that they are not who they are, then that's on me. Because you show me and exemplify the type of person with your character, your morals, your behaviors. You've shown me how you move. You've shown that to me. I'm sure you have. So
Mhm.
now we have to take accountability for that. Like, I'm not responsible for what you did, but I'm responsible for what I put up with. I'm responsible for how, if I stay.
Mhm.
I may not be responsible for your actions, but I'm responsible for my reactions moving forward. I'm responsible for what I'm going to do with that moving forward. I'm responsible for that myself. I have to make sure that I'm in a position that's going to be best for me. And with that being said, we have to take accountability on our part.
Mhm.
And as a man, he just said it had nothing to do with her. So whether or not there are excuses that come out the mouth, we understand now, and we're listening to a man that said it had nothing to do with her.
Mhm.
So we have to separate that stuff, ladies, from the act versus how it affects us. There is an action to every reaction. I get that. But it had nothing to do with you, because that's
Mhm.
a lack of self-control that man displayed for himself. That's a lack of what he don't have within himself. Has nothing to do with you.
Mhm.
So moving forward, I want to go a little deeper. If I keep attracting the same type of person, the same spirit of a person, if I keep attracting the same type of person, guess
Cat
what, baby?
Williams. Cat
It's
Williams.
you.
Cat Williams said the same exact thing.
I can't keep blaming you for, and I'm the common denominator. You mean
Mhm.
everybody crazy? You mean everybody's a cheater? You mean nobody was ever faithful to you? You mean everybody was disrespectful? Baby, where are your boundaries?
Mhm.
That tells me that there are some boundaries that we need to work on. And it
Mhm.
happens to the best of us. So I'm not here to point anybody out, but this is what self-love, self-worth, self-awareness. This is what I am projecting out here into the world, to the universe. Use the singleness to work
Mhm.
on you so that you won't manifest that type of person. If you keep attracting the same type of person, just a different body and a different name, beloved, it's you. We need to do
Mhm.
some homework. Let's work on our boundaries. Let's work on our accountability. Let's work on your principles. What are your principles? What are you willing to stand on? What are your beliefs? Because you're going to keep going in that same spiral, that same cycle with the
Yeah.
same person, a different name, a different state, a different it's the same spirit.
Mhm.
It's the same spirit. So I had to take accountabilities for that and say, I don't like what I'm attracting. So Angela Cookie started doing the work. She got a book on attachment styles. I got books on vulnerability. I found out what my attachment style is. I found out what have I always done? What are the patterns? Because the patterns always show up. What are your
Mhm.
patterns? Find what your patterns are. How do you respond in relationships? How do you respond to love? How do you respond to being honest and respect? Do you have a safe space for that
Mhm.
person to come and tell you everything? How do you respond to that? Are
Mhm.
you at peace within yourself? Is there a war going on within yourself and you expect somebody else to come in and clear that out? Baby, I can't fight your and my demons. I can't fight all of our demons. That's not my responsibility. So I'm going to be in my singleness. I'm going to work on me and fight my own demons. I'm going to work on my accountability. I'm going to work on my self-worth, my self-awareness. I'm going to work on those things so that in the event that I bring someone else into my life, guess what? It's going to be a direct reflection of my higher self, of the new improved version of myself, of the woman that has boundaries and standards and principles, and she's standing on it, that has
Mhm.
self-discipline and self-respect. I'm standing on that. So if I move in that area, I can attract that type of man towards my life. You can attract that partner in your life because you're standing on that. You're becoming the highest and the best version of yourself. You're investing in you to change the outcome because it's internal. It starts from within you. It don't start outside of you. It starts within you. Do the work from within so you can change the outcome. Do the
Absolutely.
work, ladies and gentlemen. Invest in your time. If it's therapy, self-help books, podcasts, listen to people that are there to build you up. Do the work.
Yeah. I agree wholeheartedly. And we not on no time constraints, but I don't want to hold you all night or feel like, oh my God, he got me on here, like whatever. So you
Oh
free to let
no,
me
you
know
good. I love this is what I
whatever you
love, uplifting people. We talking about conversation. I enjoy this. I do this all
yeah,
night, all day.
yeah. And I definitely want to have you on another show because that's a whole show in itself. But I've been wanting to do a show with on this particular subject, which you brought up earlier. And we ain't got to get into it now, but we could do that in the future if you're willing to come back. But
Sure.
I really want to do a show about why do we, why do people, not men, not women, but why do people choose to ignore the red flags? It's like red flags is like this new thing. Like you say, it's not like this is the first time I felt this inclination. Well, I don't like the way you feel like as a woman. I don't like the way he interacts with his mother. But you think that he's going to treat you differently. Like, it's like, whatever this, I'm just using that as an example.
Hmm.
And it's like, sometimes we see what we consider now, that's like the new term, red flags. You know, like you see the red flags. So what is it that makes us choose to ignore the red flags? Like,
Because we think we can change people.
and that's a problem. That's another problem. That's another problem. Toshiba said, "This is good. Thank you so much." Um, Andre made a good point. He said we have to stop trying to train one another and teach each other. I like
I
that, Dre.
agree.
I like that, Dre. That's a good one. And to your point, not to keep going on about that, but it's like I said earlier. If the results doesn't change, and this is just me. I'm not saying that this is ideology or what the way people should think. This is just for me. But if the results doesn't change, the why really doesn't matter, right? And we're talking about relationships, but I always say this, like, when I always think about like being an athlete in high school and stuff like that. There, I was pretty good in sports, and it's just like the movies for athletes. We see the different things. You want to look up in the stands, and you want to see your mother and your father in the stands, and your brothers and sisters, and the whole family. That wasn't my reality, right?
Hmm.
As much as I may have wanted that, right? But and it wasn't because my dad was on drugs or my mother just didn't care. Like my mother was a pastor, right? My father was a high school dropout that worked his butt off every single day to make sure that food was on the table for his wife and me and my siblings, right? But the why doesn't matter if I just felt like I was robbed of that moment. So people like to say, well, LeBron James, he's in the NBA. Of course, he can't make all the recitals. A 7-year-old kid doesn't know anything about that.
Hmm.
They just want to see daddy cheering me on. I don't even care if I suck. Doesn't matter that I suck if daddy's in the audience.
Yeah.
But we like to differentiate based off of our reality. Well, it's different. He makes millions of dollars.
Yeah.
But we don't realize the psychological impact that has on somebody growing up and over the course of time if they never address that. You're going to deal with those abandonment issues. You're going to deal with those trust issues or not measuring up, all those kind of things. So again, to me, I think it's semantics, and a lot of people don't really look at it that way. But the why really doesn't matter if the results are the same to me,
Yeah.
even if it's for a great reason. Well, I had to work, and if I don't work, the lights don't get paid. I understand that, especially now as an adult, but it doesn't change how that little boy in me felt.
And that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with Marvin. We're dealing with grown little boys and grown little girls.
Exactly.
We're dealing
That
with
never
that, and
addressed
they're hurt and they're healed, and no one has taught them and got them therapy and said it was okay to talk about it. And let's go
Mhm,
back to the little girl, let's go back to the little boy, and let's deal with those issues, our childhood trauma. This is
mhm,
why I'm an advocate for therapy as well. I'm an
mhm.
advocate for these things. Becoming the best version of yourself means you have to go back to the beginning. We have to deal with that, and a lot of times, a lot of the childhood trauma is so traumatic that we don't, as adults, we're afraid, we're fearful, we're shameful, we don't want to deal with it, we don't want to go back, so we rather stay in the same position dealing with the same issues, because
Mhm.
it's more painful to go and change and to deal with that stuff than it is to deal with this man or woman that's really not good for me, but at least it's better than what I had as a child. At least they're
Mhm.
not touching me, so they're not abusing me sexually. But we don't realize is that all the things that we've experienced as childhood, it affects your adulthood. It affects
Absolutely.
your relationship. It affects your attachment styles. It
Mhm.
affects how you view men and women. It affects if you're even capable. of being in a
Oh,
healthy relationship.
yeah,
It affects if
absolutely.
you're accountable or not. It affects your discipline. It affects everything about you as the essence of being an adult. Your childhood has a great impact on that. And so a lot of times, if we can avoid that, right? Because we're good at avoiding, we're good at finding a temporary fixes
Hmm.
to avoid that. I think a
Absolutely.
lot of people won't change because it costs them. It's going to cost them. And it
Hmm.
cost me a relationship, but I had to been willing to do that. I was so concerned and so convinced that I wanted to become the best version of myself, even if I had to lose and walk away from things that I love, that I cared about. See, if you're
Absolutely.
not willing to do that, and I don't want to get too biblical, but if you're not willing to follow, then drop and follow Christ and do and despite what and say, send me, I'll go, even if it means leaving people behind. If you're not that convinced of that, then leave it alone because this
Absolutely.
might require you to do some time by yourself. It may require you the people that you thought was going to be there with you in the beginning. God said, no, they can't go with you to the next level. I'm taking you somewhere else. They cannot go. They can't go to the promised land with you because they are not equipped. You have to be willing. And that can be mama, daddy, sister, and brother. You have to be willing to become and go, even if it means by going by yourself.
If I have
You
to
got to
go
be
alone,
willing, and a lot of people not willing to do that because of association, because of relationship, because of family, because of titles and names. You're not willing to walk away when God says it's time for you to go. I got something greater for you. You're steady holding on to what was in the past, but He's saying, baby, I have those things for you. You keep asking me for the things that I have set aside for you, but you got
mhm,
to walk away from that relationship. That
yep,
job is not serving you purpose. That relationship is testing, is drowning you. I didn't condone that marriage for you. I didn't give you that husband, that wife. You
mhm,
did that on your own. But in
yep.
order to get here, I got it for you. But what are you willing to do for me? What are you willing to walk away? What are you willing to sacrifice? And what are you willing to let go in order to have those things? So if you're not willing to do those things, you're not willing to find your purpose, you're not willing to walk away and let go of things that are not serving you, that you still love, that you still like. If you're not willing to do none of that, then just stay where you at, because this healing journey, it requires a lot. It's ugly, it's funky, it's scary, and to see yourself as the villain in somebody else's story. If you're not willing to unmask yourself and all those layers and smell your own stuff, then you probably need to stay on the side and keep watching everybody else. Don't even jump in because it's not for you. It's not for the weak. It's not for the weak.
And I'm gonna tell you straight up, you ain't got to restrain yourself here and get biblical. You can send me your cash app personally because I would have blessed you. I would have sent you an offering because that was on point. And I say this all the time. I never shared it with you, but I'm a former minister, so I totally get that, and I understand and I respect the fact that everybody is not believers. But one thing that I always try to tell people is the word Christian is simple to me. It means to be Christ-like. And when you look at the life of Jesus, Jesus wasn't preaching in mega churches. He wasn't like, you know what I mean? He was with the people that needed him the most, not the ones that had it all figured out already. But when it came to him dying on the cross, if you believe that as a believer, guess what? Nobody helped him carry his cross. So if I'm to be Christ-like, I think that's the perfect example that guess what? So there's going to be things that I in Marvin encounter in Marvin's life that guess what? I'm going to have to do alone. Mama can't help me. Daddy can't help me. My brothers can't help me. My homies can't help me.
Yeah,
Some crosses you have to bear by yourself. But even in those moments, guess what? You're not alone. You're just by yourself because he is still with you.
absolutely.
And people, we miss that all the time. But no, to your point, yeah, you nailed that on. I owe you offer because I agree with everything you said 1,000%. And one of the things that I wanted to get ask you about personally was I've known since we became and since that live I started following you. I went back. If you see it, I done reacted probably about the last 6 months on all your different feeds. That's why I was teasing you when I introduced you. Hey, Miss, hey, real quick.
So you've been watching, listening to the journey, my journey, huh?
I know. You know what I mean? I'm paying attention. Like, hey, real quick. I'm like, that should be your new name. Copyright. But it's like for me, I'm curious to know how did you come about this? Because you do the whole thing about self-worth, self-awareness, and I think you're on like a daily journey, so to speak, right now. What brought this about within you?
3 years ago, I was at work. I was off from work. I messed my back up pretty bad, and to the point where I had to get back surgery.
Okay.
And I went back to work 5 months after having back surgery, and I wasn't ready. But I had a newborn baby, a newborn grandson that was coming. That's when the back surgery, that was 5 years ago. But I had my daughter. She was found out she was pregnant. I got a grandbaby. I got 3 kids. I had to get back to work, so I went
Okay.
back to work 5 months after having surgery, and within that year, I was at work and wasn't feeling right, and was trying to walk to the bathroom to sit down and get some, just to get still. And I had something like a stroke, had a seizure. Never had experienced anything like that in my life. I woke up with the right side of my body paralyzed. I woke up in the hospital, couldn't speak, with words wasn't coming out. It was slurred. The right side of my body, I had a paralysis. I couldn't move. Had to learn how to walk again. So my
Mm.
journey didn't start just with um, the self journeying. As far as journaling, it started physically for me because the
Okay.
doctors couldn't understand how that happened, and I had to start finding do research for myself to figure out what happened to me. And I'm gonna tell you guys, the women and men, I'm gonna tell you guys, and this is from a horse's mouth: stress will take you out quicker than any so-called disease that's out there.
Mm.
Stress. I had been so stressed of trying to provide and take care of everybody, being this superwoman, putting the cape on and make sure I come to save everybody, that I damn near didn't save myself. And God had to sit me down, literally, physically. He sat me down. I was in a wheelchair for 4 months.
Wow.
I had to learn, but he had to sit me down. Don't allow God to have to sit you down, and the universe to sit you down to get your attention.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Take off that cape, Superman, Superwoman. Take care of yourself first. Be there for you first. Every day you wake up, you ask yourself in the mirror, what is it that I need from you today? And this is a real question now. Because if
Mm-hmm.
you ask people, have they ever asked? Some people have never asked themselves, what do they need from themselves before they meet the needs of anybody else?
Mm-hmm.
And I want you guys to understand that if it had not been for the grace of God to spare me, to wake me up, there's no telling if I would have woke up, because I was so stressed from years of dealing with it, not having the ability to say how I feel, holding all that inside. Y'all need to let that stuff out. Get therapy, get a license, talk to somebody that's able to handle that type of emotional trauma, childhood trauma. You guys need to not hold that inside, because what happens is it shows up on the outside. It shows up as chronic diseases. It
Mm-hmm.
shows up as stroke all of a sudden. How did this person die? It shows up as elements because you wasn't listening, paying attention to your body. And you was looking for temporary solutions instead of fixing the problem, going to the source.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you don't hear anything else that I say tonight, make sure y'all take care of yourselves. Mind, body, and spirit has to be working as one. Make sure, I get it. You have to provide. I get that. But that job gonna replace you as soon as you code. Before you even code, that job gonna have a replacement for you. Okay. Those kids are gonna learn, they're gonna be okay. Like, you have to have a balance. But one thing, if I can't be there for myself, I can't give it to anybody else. I have to make sure that my jug is filled before
There
I
you
can
go.
pour into yours.
There you go.
I can't pour from, I was pouring from an empty jug. And guess what? It was empty, and it was a surge. It was too much on that surge. And guess what? It went out. And that's your nervous system.
It's
And
going. It's,
women, we hold a lot of that in our wombs, in your uterus. Where does that fibroid joy, where all these clots and stuff come from? You haven't released, baby. You
mm-hmm.
haven't released that trauma. And so it's stored in your gut, it's stored in your vagina, in your womb. from all the failed relationships, all the things that you did, and the men that you've allowed to pour seeds inside of you. We have to do the work. And this is why it's so internal. It is internal. It's not outside of you. It's not, oh, my life is bad, because no, baby, it's going on. You got turmoil going on inside of you. You know, men, you got a war going on inside of you. You don't have a safe space to let out and say how you really feel. Y'all got to get together as men and hold each other accountable, but also be a shoulder to lean on, to lift
Yeah.
each other up. And as a men, let's get back to let men do what men do, women do what women do. Men don't have business to be. Men should not be in women business, and women shouldn't be in men business. We have to get back to the basics, y'all.
Girl.
I can't. I'm not gonna check a man on stuff. I'm not a man. A man can't tell a woman how to feel and think. He's not a woman. We can give expressing opinions, but what sense does that make if we don't hold each other accountable and within our own realms? But number one is holding yourself accountable,
That's
taking
it.
care of self first, so that you can be that provider, so you can be that great father, that great friend, that great brother to other people. But if you're pouring from an empty spout, it's just a matter of time before it shows up. You don't want to be like me, so God ain't got to show me again. You don't want to be like me, and not, by the grace of God, I was able to recover just about and get everything back, my feelings and everything. But that was a lesson. He had to take me down through there and show me that you're nothing without me. And if you don't lay this stuff down, I can take you out. And
Yeah.
guess what? Them kids, the job, everybody gonna move on right on without you.
Yeah. And it's funny that you either go there, because we, like I said, we didn't discuss any of this. What's good, Shanae? I see you tuning in. She said, I'm at peace with being with my singleness. But it's funny that she even went there before the pandemic even happened, right? I remember at the time, I would say probably from 2016 to maybe up to a year or maybe 2 years ago, I would do like little sermonettes every day. I would share a scripture and whatever God gives me to share pertaining to it. I ain't making it no whole full sermon because people have a short attention span. Let's just sum it up. Let me give you the nuggets, so to speak. And I was doing this for a substantial amount of time. But one of the things that I said, I believe mid 2019, was I was like, I don't know what's going to happen, but God is getting ready to put us all to a test. Next thing you know, January comes around. We got this China flu, this thing that no one has ever experienced before. The world shuts down. America shuts down. You can't go to church. You can't go to work. You can't go to the grocery store. You can't go nowhere. And I felt like this is what God was showing me. Because now, in 2015, it was easy to say, well, I would volunteer more, but I got to take the kids to football practice. I got to take this to soccer practice. I got to work. I got to do all this here kind of stuff there. I would give God more time if I wasn't so busy living life and making these things happen. And I feel like the church as a whole, God said, okay, I hear all these different excuses of why you can't spend time with me. All right, I got something for all of y'all. I'm gonna shut everything down, and you can't go nowhere. Everybody got a curfew. You can't go to the house of worship. Now, let's separate the weed from the tear, like the scriptures say.
Yes.
Was you just talking? Because you don't have to go to the church to spend time with me.
Mm-hmm.
You can spend time with me in your bedroom. You can spend time with me in your bathroom. You can spend time with me sitting on the front porch. So was those all excuses, or did you really want to spend time with me?
Yeah.
And that's a real conversation. We were talking earlier about having those real conversations, and a lot of times that's our problem. We don't want to have real conversations, not with anybody else. We don't want to have real conversations with ourselves. And that's where it all comes to. And to your point that you were making, I go back and forth with preacher friends all the time. Like, how can you be a leader? How can you be a spiritual leader, a pastor, a shepherd, but you don't like people? Like you can't give away what you don't have. Like if you don't know how to love people, you know what I'm saying? And you don't love yourself. And that was one of the I think that was one of the most beautiful things grown because I grew up in church, right? So it's a learned behavior. You see all these different things and you realize that holiness is real and God is real and all these different kind of things there. But we get so structured or what I consider brainwashed. And okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to find somebody to marry and have a not to say that God said that I'm not supposed to be married, like you to your point earlier. This is something that I did. And I'm not saying that my marriage was none of that. I'm not talking about me personally. I'm just saying we don't seek God about the things that He has in store for us. We just go based off of what we do. And because He gave us this thing called free will, guess what? We tie God's hands. Because as long as we're trying to figure it out, that put guys in a position to say, you know, I could do this, but since you want to figure it out, guess what? I'm gonna let you figure it out. You wouldn't have had to deal with none of that heartache. You wouldn't have to deal with none of that pain if you had to just sort me in the first place. But since you want to figure it out on your own, I gotta let you do that because I've given you free will. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of times, like I said, we don't want to have that real conversation with ourselves, and that's the whole point. Like when I first got divorced, and again, I have no problem with being transparent or being open about my experience because I don't share these things for me. There's
Right.
somebody else that's out here that might be listening that might see this show 5 years from now and it blesses them or it is meant for them at that particular time. So to God be the glory. But one of the things that my divorce taught me was I had no idea or no concept of who I was.
Mm-hmm.
I learned for the first time, like people was like, well, we was like you said, well, first you got to love yourself. And when I had a real conversation with myself, I was like, man, I'm cool to everybody. I'm confident to everybody. I'm funny to everybody. But can I honestly say that I love myself? I don't know what that is.
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know what true peace of mind is. I don't know. People's like, well, I want happiness. Talking about relationship goals and stuff like that. Then I was like, well, and I'm not knocking nobody or any previous relationships or nothing like that. But I was like, do I really know what true happiness is?
Mm.
Or did I just create a bubble of what I was okay, this is cool enough and this is close enough. So I settle for this level of happiness. But have I ever really truly experienced wow, joy, happiness? And I was like, you know what? I honestly can't answer that. I don't. And when I do it, when I finally was able to answer it, I said, I don't know. I don't know what that is. So it's a beautiful thing as opposed to with like you say, with all this baggage, insecurities, not understanding, to bring somebody else along a part of this and make them a part of that journey with me. You see what I'm saying? How can I love you properly if I don't know how to love myself? And I've shared all the time on the show. On the show, I'm somebody. You're looking at somebody that, thank God Almighty, that's the one thing that I sucked at. But I've tried. I've attempted suicide 3 different times.
Mm.
And people that know me, they like, hell no, not you, Mar. You had no, and I try to tell people, and especially around these holiday seasons, like I said earlier in the opening prayer, I think it's important for us to check on people during these times because guess what? I knew that I was loved. I knew that I had people that I could reach out to. I knew that there was people that I could talk to. I knew that there were people that genuinely, even if they didn't love me, they cared about me. None of that mattered in that moment, though. You see what I'm saying? I just didn't want to be here anymore. Period. I didn't want things to get better. I didn't want things to get. I just don't want to be here anymore. That was my reality in the moment. But thank God Almighty, I serve a God that saw fit to not honor my wishes, but say, guess what? Nah, I got more work for you to do. You got more people to reach. So people talk about, well, man, you really actually talk about that on your show? Yes. Am I proud of it? Absolutely not. Is it embarrassing sometimes? Absolutely. But guess what? He's giving me a level of peace. He's giving me a level of a clear mind that I can talk about it without breaking down. Because I know that it's going to help somebody else. Keep on fighting. It's okay to get tired in the fight, but keep on fighting. Suicide is not the answer. Because guess what? Alcohol is not the answer. Weed is not the answer. Cocaine is not the answer. Because guess what? Once you come down off that high, guess what? Those same problems will still be there. You have to hit the issue head on. Don't need no band-aid. You got to have some real life conversations with yourself, self-examination, all this kind of stuff there, and say, you know what? It's time for me to, and I think that is a fine line too, especially when we're talking about believers, because I do believe that a lot of this, the new age self-care, self-love, I do believe that is a trick of the enemy to a certain extent. Not that it's all negative, but to a certain extent, because it's like I feel like this is just a personal thing too. This is not something that I learned, or this is just a personal belief. I feel like the more and more I'm trying to spend time figuring out me in my own self, that's the less time that I'm spending in God's presence or seeking Him about the direction that I should be taking. Because I'm trying to do it all on my own. And that's not the way that He designed us or created us to be. He wants us, he gave us free will, because you know what He wants us to do is say, He could have easily said, you're going to be Caucasian. You're going to be 350 pounds. You're going to be from New Zealand, not Mississippi. But I tell people all the time, that's, to me, that's the beautiful example of God's love for us as human beings. We have no choice in the matter. We don't have no choice in where we're from, how tall we're going to be, our color, none of that. But He loves us enough to say, you know what? Even though I could make you do those things, I could created that and made you do that. I love you enough to say, you know what? I don't want you to be with me because I created you to be with me. That's the difference between us and the angels. I'm going to give you this thing called free will because I want you to say, you know what? Like Christ. Nevertheless, I think that's the most important Bible word in the entire Bible. Because I always try to, and I've had this conversation in this debate with preachers, apostles, bishops. My personal belief, again, this is not theology, but I don't necessarily think that Jesus wanted to die for us. There was a conflict of interest. If we're dating, right, and you say you want to go to Wendy's, and I say, well, I want to go to Burger King, I'm going to say what the word nevertheless. That's why it's so crucial and so pivotal. You know what? I do want to go to Burger King, but nevertheless, my baby want to go to Wendy's. So it ain't about my will. I look at it the same way with that there. Jesus said it ain't about what I want. You mean to tell me I'm going to die for these people that don't even believe in me?
Yeah.
I'm going to die for these people that won't even acknowledge my name? Like, why me, Lord? Like, Father. He said it in the scripture. Father, why hast thou forsaken me? But nevertheless, not my will, but your will be done. Which for me, that's a conflict of interest. There had to be a conflict of interest. You wasn't on the same page. There's no need for a nevertheless.
Yeah.
If we was in sync, if we were aligned, like you said earlier, if we was on the same page, there would be no reason for nevertheless. Right. But again, back to my initial point was, if we're Christians and followers of Christ, if Jesus could do that, who was fully God, fully man, say, not my will, but the Father will be done, why can't I do the same thing as a human being or an individual? Not Marv will be done, but Lord, what is your will for my life? That's a different level of maturity. That's a different level of spirituality. Not religion, but spirituality. And I thank God for my bishop, the late Bishop James H. Everett. That's one of the things that we always treasure him about, because he never taught us about. He taught us all the things that of Christianity and all those things there. But the number one thing above everything else was you need to have a personal relationship with God. And I can never tell him how much that was so pivotal in groundbreaking in my life and others' lives, because you don't, I see now, especially growing up in church, a lot of people don't preach that. They care about the numbers. They care about membership. They care about everything else. They don't care about winning souls. They don't care about outreach ministry. They don't care about none of that. But more importantly than anything, that I don't care if you faithful and you never missed a Sunday, you've been to every Sunday church 52 Sundays out the year. If you don't have a relationship with God, it's all for nothing. So make sure that your relationship is intact. But a lot of people not going to preach that. A lot of people not going to teach that, because it's going to affect their pockets. It's going to affect their bottom line. I thank God for coming up in a ministry where that wasn't the driving point. Relationship, relationship, relationship. Because that's what I try to teach other people as well. And you're never too young, you're never too old to establish a relationship with God. But guess what? Angela's relationship with God is not going to look like mine.
Right.
So why I keep comparing? Well, you go to the club and you do this here and that did. And you're supposed to be a man of God, but you went to private courtesy and all. Okay, God might tell you not to go. That don't mean that I can't go.
Right.
Let's stop measuring one another according to what God gives us to do. Because that's the reason that we all have different fingerprints. You see what I'm saying? We're all significantly and differently made. We all have different callings. So why would you want to be a carbon copy of someone else when you can be the first original you? I think that's the end game at the end of the day. I think that's what God wants us all to get to eventually. No, don't, because you respect them, you don't need to be like them. Be who I created you to be.
Right.
And guess what?
It's you versus you.
That's
It's the
it.
old version of you versus the version that God has intended you to be. That's
Absolutely.
just his will and then your way. And so that's the problem, that we're holding on. A lot of times we're holding on to the old versions of ourselves, the old identities. But in order to get you where God have you to be, and you make that statement out your mouth saying your will, your way, my God, he's going to say, I got to get rid of some stuff that you had before. I got to get rid of that old programming. I have to get rid of the old concepts of beliefs that you had. I have to get rid of tradition. I have to get rid of religion, because that has capped you off. That has made you become sleep. That has allowed you not to hear my voice. That has allowed you to become like them. Has allowed you not to be separated. Like I've told you, that you have to separate yourself from them. Because of your tradition, your religion, because of those old systems, a way of thinking, because of what grandma did and grandpa did, because of what was in the family tradition, it has sickened us as a community, as a people, and it has caused and cost us a lot.
Absolutely.
And now I think we are finally coming into that and saying that is a system that has nothing to do with my personal relationship. This is a you versus me, a me versus me thing. You mean to tell me God is in me already? I don't have to go to a preacher, a bishop, a pastor in order to talk to God for myself? You mean to tell me I can do that myself? He is with me, in me at all times?
Yeah.
Wow. So now we're getting to come into knowledge, so we cannot perish. So we do have everlasting understanding. So we do have everlasting a relationship with him that's outside of what we have tradition has taught us. I have a personal relationship with him. That means that I can go to him, and I go to him before I make those decisions. Now, that means I'm in alignment with my purpose and my will. That means I'm going to go to God before I see if you right for me. That means I'm going to say, well, I'm not going to tell you what I'm looking for. I need you to go before God so he can tell you the instructions on how to love me. I'm not going to tell you what I need from you. Show up and I will tell you if that's what I'm looking for, if that's in alignment with me. So I think we have to get to that space where we're stop looking outside of us. Once again, it's all within. If you don't want and if you don't like what you're showing on the outside, go within. Do the work. Go within yourself. Find out who you are. Find that relationships you have with your God, with Christ. Because to be like him is to be like him, which means that we're in the image of him already, right? So it's in us.
Yeah.
It's in us to become that. But
Everything
now,
is already there.
if you believe in the Bible and you're following Jesus Christ, like you said, he wasn't in the synagogues. He wasn't in the churches. He was hanging around the hustlers, the prostitutes, the beggars, those that were handicapped, afflicted. He hung with the real folks. He was in the streets. If you believe the story, Jesus was a gangster. He was going into the houses, the folks that he wasn't supposed to. He was sitting at the table with the women that he wasn't supposed to. He did that with the people that were the outcasts. So if we're going to learn anything, if you believe in that and you want to learn anything from that, we're not being Christ-like. The Christian community is not operating in that.
Absolutely.
So we have to get back to even if you want to look at him, his walk, and you believe in the story, compare that to what's going on now. But so I still would say at the end of the day, it's you versus you, finding it to know who you are. The same God that is out there that you think is also inside of you. And he's inside of you waiting for you just to become and say, I've been here this whole time. Let's clean you up. You're the prodigal son. Let's get cleaned up. Let's get cleaned up so that when you are being presented in front of him and you are being presented with the manifestation of what you prayed for, the partner that he has for you, now you can love that person and that you can become everything that you've always wanted. Now I know how to forgive. Now I know how to have great compassion. Now I understand what it is to be loved. I understand now I know what it's like to have a covering. Now I know what it's like to have a healthy relationship with a sound mind. Now my mind is regulated. But if you don't take the time to do that in your singleness, all you're doing is creating what is not transformed, transfers. What is not transformed, we transfer it, which is how we are continuing a study of traditions and a study of curses being upon our lives because it was transferred instead of transformed. And I believe that God is raising up people in this nowadays that said, you know what? It stops and ends with me. In my generation, I'm going to end this transferring of spirits of deceit and transferring of spirits of hatred and lust and all those things. He's raising the people up to say, it stops with me now. I'm willing to take the heart. I'm willing to die on the cross. I'm willing to carry my cross on this hill because I know that it's going to affect my kids and my grandkids and grandkids. That's how you lead with wealth. That's how you say to God, are you pleased with me? Am I doing what you said that you have me to do? But I know that if I got to sacrifice and be on that cross, I'm doing it for the great cause of the ones that's coming behind me. My testimony, your testimony is saving somebody. It's encouraging somebody else. So yeah, I got to put myself on the cross and show you my imperfections and tell you my story, even to know that some kind of way it's going to help somebody else along the way, by all means, because it's not about me. It's bigger than me. It's way bigger than you. So the fact that we know that we're actually doing work to help save people, or to bring people closer to where we don't even know, by all means, now you're a disciple without even realizing it. Continue to be a disciple. Continue to tell your story. Continue to build a platform with people, because guess what? When you're walking into that in your purpose, and when you're doing the will of the God, he's sending tribes. He's sending people that you don't even know, but somehow you guys are connected. You don't even know why, God. How did I connect? How are you connecting with this? That's spiritual. That's alignment. When you're operating in your purpose, he brings the aligned people, the tribes come to you. They looking for you. They waiting to do the help. They want to say, let's connect, brother. Let's do this. Let's do that. And you don't even know them. Exactly. That's walking in your purpose, and that's walking in alignment, because he's sending the people to you.
One thing I'm gonna need
you to do.
Here I
am. Here you are.
and we're gonna be friends. I believe you found a friend for life. What I'm gonna need you to do is I'm gonna need you to stop minding my business, Because I had this conversation literally earlier today. Somebody asked me, like, how do I define wealth? And I was saying the same exact thing that you were just saying. I don't look at wealth as money. I don't look at, some people have a wealth of compassion. Some people have a wealth of love. Some people have a, like me, I think I have a wealth of understanding. And I've never taken out one college course. I'm not hating on education, none of that there. But I know people that spend years in seminary, but when they hear me minister, they like, man, I want that. But guess what? I didn't do anything to get this that you want. This is just me walking in who God created me to be. I had no idea whatsoever. When I say things, I don't have no idea. I was sharing with the person I was talking to earlier this example. One day, this is after I walked away from ministry. I'm in Target, and I'm with my youngest son. He was maybe 12, 13 at the time, and I'm being silly. But in the checkout line, I look at the girl. Not to mention, let me not leave that part out. At the time, again, I'm not in church at all. I was drinking and smoking earlier that day. So I'm just figuring myself to be funny. As I'm checking out and she's ringing me up, she never looked up. I was like, do you know that God loves you? And my son thought that was the funniest thing, like, because it's just daddy being silly, right? And she looked up and she said, what did you say? I said, do you know that God loves you? And I don't even think that she really answered me, right? Fast forward 3 years later, I see her. She's working at a restaurant, and a fast food restaurant. Um, I go to pay for my food. Your money's no good here. I said, what do you mean? She was like, do you remember me? I said, you look familiar, but I don't know where I know you from or what I seen you. She said, I used to work at Target, and you asked me, do I know that God loves me? But you didn't even know that I was contemplating suicide.
Mm.
I was ready to give up that day. And just you saying that changed the trajectory of my life. So if you don't mind, can I be a blessing to you and just pay for your food? I'll let them take it out of my check. Man,
Wow.
fast forward 4 years later, I'm at a high-end restaurant with the whole family. Get ready to pay the bill. Your money's no good here. What you mean? This is a whole 4 years later. What you mean? We had this is you see the food here, you see the plates. What you mean that my money is no good? Someone that was here earlier paid for your meal. Well, are they still here? Because I would like to thank them. You know what I mean? One of
Yeah.
the things I learned, because I used to be like, nah. We in that charity. But one of the things that I learned was you don't block people's blessings. If somebody want to be a blessing to you, allow them to, because God is going to bless them in return. So I
Right.
got out of that mindset, like, nah. We ain't gonna do that. I got my own money. Let people be a blessing to you if God leaves it on their heart.
Mm-hmm.
So I caught her in the parking lot, and it was the same young lady. So this is 7 years from the day that I asked her, do you know that God loves you? Now she's a minister. Now she's you know what I mean? She's flourishing. And I get chills just when I think about it. So the point that I was making was, like I shared with somebody earlier, even when you don't know that God is using you,
Mm-hmm.
you're still being used if you're walking in your divine purpose.
Yes.
I thought I was just being silly. Hey, do
Mm-hmm.
you know God loves you? But it changed the trajectory of her life, all because I was obedient to what was in me that I didn't even know that it was that going to benefit her.
Mm-hmm.
So it was in, like you talk, we use. That's why I said I was like flabbergasted when you use that one word, particularly alignment, because I believe in that. But more than just physical man and woman, is that much more important to be aligned with God and His purpose and His plan for your life, because then nothing else matters. Whether you're single, it doesn't matter. because I got all the love that I need from him. If I do get somebody and God say, you know what, for whatever reason, you can't have any children, it doesn't matter because that relationship is solid. I'm in line with God. I don't have to understand it. And that's half of our problem too as human beings. Like I tell people all the time, stop trying to understand. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why. Because guess what? If you understood why a mother will put her newborn baby in a microwave, then it ain't just something wrong with her. It's something wrong with you too if you will understand it.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Let's
Yeah.
stop trying to understand everything. Because some things ain't supposed to make sense. But what we got to do is, like the analogy I like to use is, we got to stop minding God's business.
Ooh.
It's not for us to understand. That's what faith is. Let's say faith. Now Hebrews 11:1 says, "Now faith is the substance of things. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen." When you break that down, educationally wise, it's contradictory, right? How can I have evidence of something that I can't see? Like evidence means, okay, I can show you the evidence. But you're telling me by faith, by definition, that faith is the hope of evidence, the things that I can't see. So am I going to try to make that make sense logically, or am I going to take God at his word and say, even though I don't understand, yet will I trust you? Even though I can't see it, yet will I trust you? Even when I don't understand it, yet will I trust you? Because you're the author and the finisher. You control everything. So guess what? If I'm supposed to walk this life alone, you got me.
Yeah.
If I'm supposed to have 15 kids, you got me. I ain't got to worry about the job and all this other kind of stuff there. You gonna make a way. God doesn't give you a vision without the provision. That ain't how he works when you're in his perfect aligned with his perfect plan for your life.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna end on that there because I ain't trying to preach. I'm
Hey.
just saying you made some good valid points with that there. And I think that that's so pivotal. And I think that a lot of people, we got to get to that point to where we get to the level of understanding that, guess what? It's okay not to be okay. It's okay not to understand. It's okay for us not to be logical. Like we got to get rid of a lot of these sayings that we have, well, the proof is in the pudding. Okay, that sounds good, but it's actually the opposite of faith if you're a believer.
I think it speaks of past, present, and future. I think that scripture speaks, if you look at it, it speaks on the future. Hope,
Mhm.
faith is the future of something that is going to happen. And I
Yeah.
have to speak and believe, I have to believe it first before I can even bring it into manifestation. I got to believe that the thing that I'm asking for, hoping for, that is going to come to pass. And so now that I know that it's going, I have belief in it first, right?
Mhm.
Now, the substance of that comes through that, but it started with my belief, the seed. I had to believe that I was a deserving, expecting it. I had to believe that that was what I'm desiring, that for it to become true. So now I'm allowing that with my words and with my actions to believe the thing that I can't see, because I know that eventually it's going to show what substance. And the substance is not here right now, but it will be. So it's
Yeah.
speaking to the present time of you asking for that thought, the belief to believe for that very thing. But then it's calling into the future of the substance of the thing that you're asking for in today. So I'm speaking into the present. I'm in the present speaking to my future. And I'm going back in my future saying, the future, I need you to show some substance for the present. Even though I can't see the present of the future, I can't see the substance right now. I'm gonna go back into the future and say, hey, make sure you back up what you said
Mhm.
today. And
And
now you
that's
make an agreement with that. I'm in agreement with my substance that's going to show up today. I can't tell you how and when, but I can agree that I went into the future. God said I went into ahead of the time for that substance that I want, but I had to speak of it today, right now. I believe it
absolutely.
for it. So that I had to leave my present day time to go in my future to call that in and say, I'm calling you to come in.
Mhm.
That's mine. I'm claiming it. But as
Mhm.
I'm claiming, I'm putting authority on it into right now, saying that I believe that right now, as of today, this is what I'm speaking, this is what I'm asking God for. I believe it in right now. It's not my responsibility to call out and say when and where and how. He
Mhm.
didn't say do that.
Exactly.
He didn't say do that. That's not my business. God's business. But I went
God,
in the future and got it for the day. Now I'm
uh,
waiting. And as I'm waiting, I'm walking, I'm listening. I have expectations of that thing that I called into the existence from my
mhm.
future. I have expectations for it to show up sometime today, the
And
present day, because all we have is the right now. Tomorrow ain't
yeah,
even promised. Your future ain't even promised, but you have expectations that I'm gonna grab my substance from the future into my today. I got expectations of that. That's all I can have. That's how I
yeah.
live. I live in the right now. Nothing,
And
everything else
girl,
is none of my
got it.
business.
You 100% on point. Good. I tell people all the time that's the purpose of the scripture. You take the parent child relationship, right? If you clean your room up, and I'll have to talk to you about cleaning your room up all week, I'm gonna give you $5, right? This is the parent child relationship. You said you got 3 children. Come Saturday, you ain't gave that $5 up yet. Hey, mommy, you said if I kept my room clean, I ain't getting no trouble. You was going. It's not that you forgot what you said.
Hmm.
You just want to see if she gonna remember what you said.
Yeah, yeah,
God
yeah.
sees us the same way. It's not when you talk about the Bible. And okay, the Bible is full of promises, but I don't need you to read the Bible and learn the Bible for my sake. I need you to be able to call me on my own what I said, like you said. Well, God, you said that if I did such and this, such and such and such, you would do this. Okay, you was paying attention. Guess what? Now I'm gonna open up the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. I love it. I agree with you. I'm with you.
It's a
I'm
trigger.
with you.
So it's not about proving yourself or that you know the most scriptures because you got to let it resonate into you. You know what I mean? And that goes back to the whole relationship because you can read a scripture and get one thing, and I read the same exact scripture and get something totally different out of it. But it benefits both of us.
Because it's edifying. We're here to edify one another, and we're not here to debate it. We're here
Absolutely.
to edify. And if it's not edifying each other, then I can question your. Are you just trying to be smart? You just want to be known. You have all this wisdom, understanding, but you're not edifying the people. You're keeping it to yourself, like the Pharisees.
Mhm.
You just want to be outside to be seen that you are a scholar. That doesn't do nothing. That does nothing to edify the building of the people. It is not building people up. You're not giving to them something that you God has give to you, and that is why we are overcomers of our testimonies. It's not, you didn't go through that just to have for yourself. No, you went through that so that you can help somebody else and say, hey, in my most vulnerable moments, even in my mess, God
Mhm.
still was able to turn things around. So let me tell you how I did it. I'm not telling you this is what you can do, but I'm giving you an example. I'm giving you an example of what the substance look like. I'm giving an
Absolutely.
example of what it can look like. I'm not telling you this is what yours going to look like, but you can use me as a reference, because if he did it for me, by all means, he going to do it if he can do it for you too. So use me as a reference, as a point of view that said, hey, I remember Marvin said he was going through this. So what did you do again? So now you understand that the reason why you went through it, it wasn't a storm, it wasn't the enemy. That was God saying, I'm making space, I'm making room for you. I got to remove some stuff. I got to allow you to go through some stuff. I got to take some stuff away, because I'm about ready to put you in places around people, things, and opportunities. I'm about to sit you at the table at the head. I'm about to put you amongst the kings and the queens.
Mhm.
Even if you feel like you were less qualified,
Yeah.
even when you are amongst people's of politicians and people that may have degrees and doctrines and all that, I'm still going to sit you at the table. Matter of fact, I'm going to have them call for you. I'm going
Mhm.
to allow you to be an example, and you allow me to work through you, that they're going to be calling, asking for you to come sit at their table. They're going
Yeah.
to be asking for your wisdom and your understanding and things. And that comes from nobody but God, because he said, you ask for wisdom and understanding, I give you those things. So
Mhm.
that's how you can stand up from the rest, because you know that when you're in your purpose and you in alignment, you don't get that from school. You don't read that in a book. That comes from the most.
You
That comes from
can't
that
learn.
divine connection.
Yeah. Some things just are within. You can't, like you said, you can't learn it. You can't teach it. You have to experience it. We talked about Brian Colverson earlier. With God, it works the same way. Some things you just have to experience because I tell people all the time too. God, I still believe in miracles, signs, and wonders. I absolutely believe. I'm a believer in that. But at the end of the day, God is not getting off the throne to come down here and bless Angela. God is not getting off his throne to come down here and bless Marvin. He's going to use vessels here amongst us to do his work for him. And because they knew nothing about it, just like I believe in what I call divine timing, right? There's a reason I didn't meet you in 2019. There's a reason that you never seen this show or heard of me before whatsoever.
Yep.
But God knew in this appointed time, even when Jesus was walking the earth, that in November of 2000 in the year 23, that's going to be the time that they meet.
Yep.
And that's by my design.
What happened, Marvin?
I'm back with you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
All right. That and that ain't nothing but the enemy. Because when we talking good, he gonna do like he did you Sunday night. You know what I mean? What's the connection? Like when you talk about something that's relevant, the connection would go out and act all crazy like no other time before. Well, guess what, devil? You still a liar.
Still.
You still a liar.
And the show continues. The show still must go on.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's meant to be, the point that I was making though, God said for such a time as this, okay, they didn't need to meet each other 5 years ago. They don't need to meet each other 10 years from now. But because of where they are at this particular time, this is the time that I have designated and orchestrated for them to cross paths.
Absolutely.
Whether it be friends, whether it's a one-time conversation, whether it's romantic, whether it's whatever, I will meet you, introduce, whatever the case may be, for such a time as this. And I thank the God that I serve, the God that I believe in, for the opportunity and the pleasure of him bringing you into my life in whatever capacity. I value that. Because like I said, the first time that I seen your show was like, for one, like I said, I'm not even going to hold you on that. You're beautiful to me. I think you're absolutely glowing. You know, but even when I got to hear you talk, I'm like, okay, she deeper than just grown folk conversations. She deeper than just like it's something about her. What is the it about her? You know what I mean? And I was intrigued. So I kept coming back. Okay, you do your show Tuesday night. So
Marvin, you got somebody upset. You talking too much.
he a liar. I don't care what you do, you a liar. You can't see the comment, but she was saying the same thing. I'm still amazed that I found a lifetime friend when I dialed the wrong number. And this is a young lady that's been in the comments. She been in watching the show, but she called me by accident one day. And who she was calling, who she was trying to call, was actually a guy by the name of Marvin. So I'm like, well, yeah, this Marvin, but like, where do we meet? And she's talking about shrimp. I know I'm allergic to shrimp, like, so nah,
so
this
it
ain't
wasn't the right Marvin.
yeah. But here it is all these years later.
Wow. I mean, that's awesome.
Guys on how he connect people and things of that there. Because the same way she said I helped her with some situations, she helped me as well. You know what I mean? So again, it's not about me trying to figure out or, oh, is this the one? Or you know what I mean? Why has God added her to my life? It might be for people coming to your life for reasons. Sometimes people come into your life for seasons. Sometimes people come to your life forever. It don't matter. But if you let God be God and do what he does, again, don't mind his business. Just take it at face value and get in the passenger seat and go along for the ride. He does not need a relief driver.
No, he does not. He does not need our help. Matter of fact, when we get in the way, he move away. He get outside because he said, "Y'all, oh, so you gonna do it? Okay."
Go ahead and do it.
Go ahead and
Keep
do it.
poking your head up against the wall.
Yep.
And I'm gonna
Yep.
sit back here watching. Look at this. Look at this fool. Look at this idiot.
Yep. That's exactly how it does. But thanks for having me, though. I really appreciate it. I enjoy conversations like this, especially with our community. And
Mm-hmm.
if I want to ask a man how a man thinks, I'm gonna go ask a man.
Exactly.
And to have insight on how men think and how can we can be better partners, um, not necessarily even in a romantic way, but any kind of way, friendship,
Yeah.
business. I think we're
Absolutely.
better together than we are apart. And if you
Absolutely.
believe in the story of the Bible, Jesus, if he had 12 disciples, then that tells us that we can't do it alone. And we need a group of people, a tribe that believe in the things that we believe, that are in alignment with us. Like-minded spirits will always find themselves towards each other. We always find ourselves in it. Now that we're on this vibration, now that we're on this level, we're going to find more like-minded people that are
Mm-hmm.
walking the walk and understanding their purpose and understanding how life is working. And we're all just finding our way towards each other. And that's purposeful led people, partners. It does not necessarily mean romantically. Um, I'm watching the series, Pastor Mike Todd. Have you heard of
Yeah.
him? A
Yeah. Yeah.
transformational
Out of
church
Oklahoma.
down in
Yeah.
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. Transformation. Yeah.
Damaged but not destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Woo!
It's
Powerful,
good.
powerful, powerful.
Right.
Because he goes into details of if Jesus himself picked 12 disciples that he handpicked to carry out the mission, how do we think that we can do it alone and by ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
The importance of having relationship with like-minded people. I think that's important because you can't do it. You can't run it and do it on your own. You can't operate in your own strength.
Yeah.
So we find people that are in the like-minded spirit, but have different values and tools that you don't have, and
Mm-hmm.
you build that community around that in order to make a real change. So I
Yeah.
think that now that we understanding that, hey, it's a me thing. Now that therapy is popular and therapy is trending now, I think that's a good thing though, because it's saying that, hey, I'm willing to work on me first before I go back out here and destroy another person's life, before I go out here and disrupt my life, before I go here and make another mistake, get another failed relationship, another failed marriage. Let me step back for a minute and assess the situation. Maybe it's me. Okay, God, I
Absolutely.
surrender. What is that I need for you? What you have for me? What do I need to do? What do I need to do? Let me find the pattern that was destroying me. Let me find out where my mistakes are. Let me find out the things that I'm flawed in so that that can help me and manage to have a better relationship with myself. And then that will increase and that will project out towards everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Because let me tell you something, Marvin, I've never been in love like I am now. I've never experienced this type of love, and I've been married. I have never experienced this joy, this glow that you see is not because of a man, a job, a career. It is because I found I found who I was. And that's joy. That's not even happiness. That's joy that only God can give you. That even despite, no matter what situation and state that I'm in, I have joy now. And I didn't know what that was like. But now that I have it, I'm not willing to transfer. I'm not willing to sacrifice that for nobody to be in any type of relationship, whether it be a job, career, a man, any of that. I'm not willing to sacrifice that. You got to have that same joy that I got. You got to have that same peace that I have. You got to have that same understanding that I have. You got to have that already, baby. If you don't have it already, just keep admiring me from afar. That's non-negotiable. Those are my non-negotiables. Not willing to debate, nor am I willing to, I'm not here to try to convince anyone of anything other than that the joy that I have, the world didn't give it. And the world definitely can't take it away. So
Girl, that's good. That's good. We're gonna end it on that. And before I go, thank you, Holy Spirit, because you said something that's real powerful too. And I'm not hating at all on you pastors, but to your point, let's go see a licensed therapist. Like, there's nothing wrong. I'm not saying that anything is wrong with talking to your pastor, but guess what? If you're talking to your pastor, they're not a licensed therapist. Some of them jokers are just as jacked up, if not worse than you. So let's. And I know I might lose some friends, but guess what? I tell it like a TI is, like Bernie Mac say. Like, I think that's very, very important because if you not the if you got trouble in your own household, how you gonna tell me how to fix my marriage? If you struggling with your parenting skills, how you gonna teach me how to be a parent? Yeah. So I might run it by you, but I need to go talk to a trained therapist that's experienced in know how to come at this strategically to help me get somewhere.
Yep.
Okay.
I totally
So
agree.
I'm not hating on pastors, but I'm saying if you wear both hats, cool. If you don't, let's say I'm gonna pray with you, but you need to go get some help.
That's it. You can get therapy and Jesus at the same time. They can go hand in hand. Therapy
Hmm.
and Jesus can go hand in hand.
Absolutely. But girl, I'm so like I said, I feel like boom, you got a friend for life. You definitely got a follower for life. I'm gonna be always tuning in again, and we'll talk off camera or later on at a different time. We go back and forth through message or whatever. Like I said, I definitely want to have you back on again. I know it, and I don't want you to miss your Tuesday night show. So whenever you can do it again, and we can look at our schedules and fit it in, we'll that particular week we'll come back to Wednesday instead of that Tuesday, so that you know what I mean. You ain't missing out. Your viewers not missing out. Nobody's missing out. Whatever the case may be, and the people still could be blessed from good, authentic, transparent conversations. So again,
Absolutely.
thank you for taking out the time to do this and just giving of yourself, sharing your experiences, and being vulnerable. That's one of the things that I started, or that was one of my missions when I did start the show. Like I say, I told you that's one thing I don't do is I don't do messy. I'm not into the Charlemagne the God or the Wendy Williams and all that kind of stuff there. I like to give people, whether we met, we got history together or not, I like to give people a safe place where they feel comfortable and say, you know what, okay, that wasn't too bad. And he's not gonna bring up this now. He's not getting too personal. He's not, you know what I mean? Because that's what I would want. And again, you can't give out what you don't have. That's what I want. That's what I want from my viewers. I mean, from my guests as well as the viewers. So that's what I'm willing to give. We're not gonna bash nobody on here. We can create a safe place. We might not agree with all the time. We could agree to disagree, but you will be heard and you will be able to express yourself. You know what I'm saying? So thank you again for gracing me with the opportunity to have you on. And I look forward to you. I think Toshiba's just still here. A lot of people that checked out, but a lot of people gonna watch the replays. The page is gonna be on the YouTube channels. Anybody that want to go watch it, the show will be on the YouTube channel as well. And if you guys comment on watching the show later on, feel free to still go ahead and comment. I will get a notification that you left a comment or whatever the case may be, and we'll revisit it. If you got a question for Miss Cookies, then I will transfer the message to her and let her get back to you to answer. But just because you're not a part of the live doesn't mean that you don't get to be a part of the experience. So whenever you watch this here, please chime in. Okay, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yep.
So that was the question. Tashib said, "How can I follow her on?" Let's give people your information. I gave it earlier, but I'm gonna let you do it this time.
You can find me on TikTok. I'm Miss Cookies 2. That's MZCOOKEEZ, the number 2 on TikTok. I'm on Instagram, the same name. Facebook is Angela Cookie Lewis, but I'm more active on TikTok. So that's where we have Grown Folks Boulevard. So follow me on TikTok. That's MZCOOKEEZ, the number 2. That's Miss Cookies 2. So
Okay.
that's where you can find me.
And Tuesday nights from
Grown Folks Boulevard, yes, Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Central Time, and that's when I come. I'm the host of Grown
that's
Folks Boulevard. We have conversations, but listen to great music, great energy, great vibrations, great conversations. We do all that on Tuesday nights, specifically on Tuesday nights, and then
mhm,
sometimes Thursday nights and Saturday nights. But I'm not too hard. The same name on all of my handles: IG, TikTok, and Facebook.
okay. Sounds good. And like I said, I do appreciate you and all those that are faithfuls and show watchers like Toshiba herself. Once we wrap up on Tuesday nights, let's be expedient in getting over to TikTok and joining the Grove Folks Boulevard conversation. We're all welcome, and I would encourage each and every one of you to come along with me because I will definitely be coming along once we wrap up here. So again, thank you for your time. Thank you for you guys spending this evening with us. Yes. So again,
Okay.
my point was I was saying was the internet is acting crazy again. We ran longer than we normally go, but so what? It was a good conversation. I have tremendously been blessed, and I thank you for your time, and I thank you guys for being a part of it as well. Um, so as usual, in signing off, did you have anything that you wanted to say before we wrapped up?
Just thank you for the opportunity. I'm looking forward to future endeavors. Let's
Okay.
anytime you invite me, I'm more than willing to show up. So I'm here
All right.
for it. Thanks for having
Sounds
me.
good. Sounds good. And I'm gonna hold you to it now. I'm gonna
Yeah,
definitely be in touch now.
you definitely
But
can.
I thank you all for spending this evening with us. Thank you guys for your comments and questions and being a part of this experience. And I look forward to seeing you all next Tuesday. I'm not sure what the topic is going to be next Tuesday, but we will be back next Tuesday. Um, yeah, we got one more show before Thanksgiving. Well, I take that back. I'm not sure about to keep eye out for notifications because it's a holiday week next week, so we might take the week off. I'm not sure just yet, but I'm big on people spending time with family and all those kind of things there. So I don't want you to get you distracted from things that matter, so to speak. But I will let you guys know and give you further notice on that. But as usual, in signing off, thank you for your time. I pray God's blessings to each and every one of you, as well as your families, and especially you as the guest. I pray that God would enlarge your territory and everything that you touch. God will see it will come to fruition and what God has in store for you, that you will manifest it all in this realm, not the hereafter. So I speak that over you as
Mm.
well.
I received that. You guys be blessed. Thanks for having me.
All right. I'm sorry about that, y'all, but we back. And as usual in signing off, DeAndre and Lisha, know that daddy loves you intentionally, but I also love you unconditionally. Till next week or the week after. Peace.